versus Elder. Step forward, please.
19-year-old nanny Stephanie Goodall is suing her former employer, 26-year-old Wendy Elder, for a fraudulent check she cashed on Wendy's behalf.
Bird, you got to listen to this very carefully. I don't always ask you to do it, but this one is just one of those.
I will pay attention.
Okay. Miss Goodall was Miss Elder's nanny.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to the complaint, Miss Elder, according to her, received a check from some relative. And the check, for some reason, was made out to Miss Goodall, because according to Miss Elder, this relative was old. And she asked Miss Goodall to cash the check. Miss Goodall deposited the check for $1,850 in her checking account, and then slowly, over the course of several days, withdrew the money and gave it to Miss Elder. It turns out that the check bounced. Now, Miss Elder got the cash and spent it.
Of course.
Miss Goodall got the shaft, because her bank wants their money.
Sure.
Miss Elder is outraged that Miss Goodall is suing her, and she's going to explain why. Go.
Your Honor, I didn't write those checks. They were not in my name, they were in her name. I spoke to my relative over the phone. I explained to him that we were having a nanny for my brother's wedding, and he offered to pay expenses and nanny expenses. And I said, okay.
Just a minute. You're adding that to your answer, by the way. That's not what you said in your answer. What you said in your answer was that a relative of your husband's agreed to help you with trip expenses. Not nanny expenses, trip expenses.
Trip and nanny expenses, Your Honor.
Listen to me. You have a husband, correct?
Yes,
because
Your Honor.
You say this is a relative of your husband's.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume your husband has a job?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what about you?
I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2.
You're a stay-at-home mom. Do you have a home?
We live in an apartment.
Do you pay rent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your husband has a job?
Yes, Your Honor.
You pay telephone, gas, electric?
Yes, Your Honor.
You pay them by check or cash?
We pay them by money order.
So your husband gets his paycheck, and what does he do with it?
We go.
Don't think fast. What does he do with his paycheck?
He cashes it.
Where?
At the bank.
What bank?
Wells Fargo.
Is that where you keep your account? You
No,
can't
ma'am.
cash a check there unless...
It's drawn on there.
What kind of work does he do?
A grocer. He's a grocery manager.
How long has he worked there?
11 years.
Is there any reason why you don't have a checking account? Is not an answer. Most people have a reason. If they have a job for 11 years, they have a wife, they have 2 children, they have an apartment, they have gas, electric, telephone. Most people have checking accounts. So don't give me an answer that's not going to sit well with me, Miss Elder. Why don't you have a checking account?
We're unable to get one.
Why?
Bankruptcy.
They won't give you a
last 2 years.
checking account because you have a bankruptcy?
In the last 2 years, yes, Your Honor.
No, my dear. You may not be able to get a checking account because you've committed bank fraud before. That's a possibility.
I've never done that before, Your Honor.
Maybe your husband has.
No, he's not, Your Honor.
Well, if you have a bankruptcy, you can still get a checking account. All you have to do is put money in it.
We have a savings account.
Well, you have a savings account. Well, then you can open up a checking account in the same bank that you have a savings account in. So there's a reason why you don't have a checking account. You have to do the explanation to me how you got the money, she got the shaft, and how she has nerve to sue you. You have an answer?
No, Your Honor.
So why didn't you give her money back?
Because it wasn't, I don't have that money. I didn't give it to her.
She wasn't paid by your relative. There's a difference if your relative said, I'm going to pay your nanny, and he gives her a bad check. She cashed the check and gave the cash to you. Don't you catch the difference?
I catch the difference, Your Honor, but it wasn't, she didn't give me the whole cash.
How much money did she give you? How much money did you give her?
I gave her $1,900, Your Honor.
I have record of $1,500.
So, let's say,
Yeah.
I believe you now that we're getting to $1,500. She gave you the cash. Why shouldn't you give it back to her if the check was bad?
Well, my relative or my husband's relative should give it to her, not I.
Can I say something? I have record that shows that this was from her account, not from her relative.
Just a second. Maybe the records that you have are going to help me figure out whether she's a thief or dumb.
Okay.
Let me see.
Right there.
Bakersfield Police Department advised that the account on which the check was drawn belonged to Christopher and Wendy Elder. However, the account was closed by the bank in August 2001. That makes you a thief instead of just stupid. Now, that's from the police department.
Well, they didn't talk to me at all.
I don't care whether they don't have to talk to you. Explain it to me. The account had been yours. It was closed in 2001.
I don't see how that's possible. We have record that it's still open.
Is what you're telling me now that you acknowledge this is your account? Listen to me, Miss Elder. I'm going to advise you right now, because I feel as if it's my responsibility to advise you, that we are taping this, and that I plan on sending this tape to the local law enforcement authority in Bakersfield. So far, you are very close to admitting to bank fraud. And I feel as if without having the benefit of consulting with an attorney, you would do very well to say to me, I don't think I want to answer these questions anymore, Judge. Because what you say in your answer was, listen, it wasn't my bank account, it was my relative's bank account, and I didn't know anything about it. Now we come to a fact from your mouth that it was a bank account that belonged to you and your husband. You said, and my relative. Maybe, maybe not. But if it belonged to the three of you and a bad check was written on it and you knew that it was an account that had no funds in it, that's bank fraud, for which you can go to jail. And my sense is, if you are a woman who doesn't have a checking account and who has a husband who's worked in the same place for 11 years, you are no stranger to problems with banks. Do you follow my drift?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you want to answer my questions anymore?
No, Your Honor.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I trust her. She was one of my closest friends.
I have no comment.
I found out that she's done this all over our town.
I have no comment.
Extreme shock. I don't know why somebody would do this.
Al Friedman is suing the current owner of his previous home, Mike Zarba, for the balance of a loan and for disposing of his valuable war memorabilia.
Mr. Friedman, you had a piece of property, a home.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, at first you leased that home to Mr. Zarba. And then there was a discussion about him purchasing the home. He ultimately did purchase the home.
Yes.
He had some trouble with getting an appropriate mortgage because of some credit problems that he may have had. And you loaned him the closing costs, which
Correct.
were $20,000, with a promise that he would repay that money within 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Correct.
So first it is your claim that he owes you some of that money, $2,800?
As of, no, it's $1,800
$1,800.
left on the loan.
The second part of your lawsuit is that there was an agreement between the two of you that you could keep some property at the house, which you claim Mr. Zarba discarded.
Correct.
Mr. Zarba acknowledges that he discarded the property. He said that he gave you enough time to get it out. And he's not paying you the $1,800 that he acknowledges he owes on the original loan because he was forced to, A, hire a dumpster to get rid of your stuff, and B, he stored it all that time. Is that right, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first rent this house, Mr. Zarba?
End of July 2004.
And when you rented the house, Mr. Friedman still had some property there in both the shed and in an attic?
Yes.
When did you purchase the house?
April 2005.
And when did Mr. Friedman loan you the $20,000?
The closing, but we had an agreement where I did some work for him, so it wasn't really a loan.
Listen to me. When did he loan you the $20,000, which you acknowledge in your answer?
It would be the beginning of April.
And how long were you supposed to have to repay this loan, Mr. Zarba?
In about 60 days.
Good. When does your receipt indicate that you hired this dumpster to get rid of his property?
August 5th.
When did you tell Mr. Friedman that you weren't going to pay him his $1,800 until he removed his property?
It was the end of July, right?
July
July
what?
20th.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Friedman.
Well, he showed up unexpected again. He treated me like I was a mini storage.
Listen to me. What conversation did you have with him?
The conversation was, you need to take care of your stuff, get it out, and we'll settle up.
Well, he came to your property
Yes.
looking for money. He didn't come there looking to take his stuff. He came there looking for his $1,800.
Well, it was $2,800 then. And I
Okay.
gave him $1,000.
And when you gave him the $1,000, you said, when you get the rest of your stuff out of here, you get your other $1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said he was going to get it out. That was the only agreement we had.
And he said he would get it out.
He said he'd get it out.
Now, 2 weeks later, you disposed of his property.
Yes. Gave him till August 1st, in a few days.
Well, so far you didn't give him any time, sir. You didn't say that to me.
Oh,
you said,
okay.
when you get your stuff out, I'll give you your money. That's what you said
But
to
I've
me.
been
I
asking-
repeat, listen to me.
Okay.
I repeated it twice to you.
Okay.
Al Friedman says the man who bought his home disposed of his valuable war memorabilia. Mike Zarba claims it looked like junk.
What troubles me, Mr. Zarba, quite frankly, is your answer. The first line of your answer is the most telling part of your character. You say, I owe him nothing. We were overcharged for the home, considering its condition, and he's lucky we didn't charge him for storing the items. That you wrote. So what you're saying is that after you lived there for a while, and there were lots of things that you had to repair in the house, you didn't like the condition of the house, you said, I want to renegotiate in my own way the sale price of this house because I overpaid him for the house to begin with. You didn't write there that we had an agreement that we would store the stuff until August 1st. He didn't pick up the stuff August 1st. I hired a dumpster. No. The first thing that you wrote, the most important thing that you wrote was, I didn't like the purchase price, and I'm going to take another $1,800 out of the purchase price because I deserve that. That's not the way life works, Mr. Zarba. Is this your first house?
No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you did in your other houses, sir, but that's not the way you close a house. You close a house, you negotiate a price, that's the price. Once you purchase it, you don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect! Mr. Friedman, I want you to tell me what stuff, and I want you to be very careful because I am an ecumenical abuser. I don't like when somebody tries to put one over late in the game because that's what he did.
Yes.
I don't like when you try to put one over on me.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what valuable items you left in the house.
And I made a list, and I'll go
You
through
sure you
the
want me to
list.
look at that list?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it.
The largest items on that list were two major important pieces to me were I had military boxes marked with military. I had a frame of when I was in Vietnam of a load crew in front of a plane that had my military ribbons on it. I'm a disabled veteran from Vietnam. There's also boxes I had marked with kids' items that had finger paintings in it from the time that they were kids and just paraphernalia that they did through the years.
What you're really telling me is that the only thing that were there was your memorabilia. That is valuable because two wooden Santa sleighs, handmade, 2 coolers, 2 sets of Malibu yard lights. I don't want to deal with that, sir.
Correct.
I had 10 years of postgraduate work. I don't deal with this. If it was important to you, you should have gotten it out. Now, you just disposed of everything, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that was the wrong thing to do.
There was nothing in there that looked like it was anything somebody would save. I've got pictures here.
I'm going to take a look at your pictures. Right now. Can I see the pictures, please?
I mean, this is what he left me. It's not pretty.
Well, the shed's not pretty. First of all, get a new camera or take photography lessons. I don't know what this is. Grass. I don't know what this is. I have no idea, sir. This is a whole major blur. Are you doing
let
this on
him in
purpose?
several times.
Listen to me, sir. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, ma'am.
When you took a picture of the grass, I could see that this is grass.
Yeah.
This looks like a Hungarian goulash, sir.
It was in the attic.
Do
The
you
lighting
suffer-
wasn't very good. I
It has
agree.
nothing
The
to do
pictures
with
don't look
listen,
great. but-
Listen to me, Mr. Zarba. This has nothing to do with lighting.
Okay.
This looks like somebody who's had a bad hangover took these pictures. All right. He had no right to destroy your property, so he had no right to take it away. He owes you $1,800 because he's a deadbeat on a loan that he made, and he owes you $1,500 for what he threw out. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Suing him for $4,300, I think that's excessive, sir, for the junk that you left there for over a year. But he has to be taught a lesson that he can't dispose of your stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's it. Goodbye and good luck. Nothing.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I gave him access to it. I wasn't a mini storage.
This man's work that he talked about doing at a house, I have pictures. I wouldn't let him build a doghouse.
Had enough dealings with it. I'm glad it's over.
I want people in Pasco County to know, if you see this guy, shut the door.
Homemaker Shirley Bonnie Plaster is suing her former friend, 25-year-old homemaker Tamara Deal, for unpaid child care fees. Tamara says Bonnie agreed to take her children so they wouldn't have to live in a gang-infested neighborhood.
Ms. Plaster, it is your claim that the defendant, who has 3 children, owes you for child care. Her children lived with you for a period of time. She gave you some money, but you still claim she owes you $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Deal says she owes you nothing because of one of 2 things. Either you waived any support during the mediation that you evidently had about something, and second, that there was never any agreement to pay you for taking care of her children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was she taking care of your children?
I had some problems in the neighborhood that I was living in, and it was basically a bad community, and I had to do what was best and get my children out of there as soon as possible.
And how long did they all stay with you?
From June the 11th, Bradley stayed with me until March the 4th, and then the others from August and October until March the 4th.
Where were you living during all of this time?
I recently...
Richard, don't look down. Look at me.
I recently moved out of the apartment that I was moving in because of the community, and I went to stay in hotels. That's why I thought it was best that Bonnie helped me out and take care of my kids.
Who were you living in the hotels with?
Me and the father of my children.
You have a drug problem?
No, ma'am.
Did he?
No, ma'am.
So then why weren't you working?
We were working.
Well, 2 people working, it would seem to me you could have some sort of place for your children.
Right, at the time, you know, struggling, trying to keep up the bill of the hotel and the gas to go back and forth to work and the money to eat on. It took us a long time to try to save the money up so that we could get on our feet.
You knew Miss Plaster through your mother, is that right?
Not only through my mother, but she took custody of my cousin when he was about 9 months old.
How old is he now?
16.
So she's a very good parent.
Yes.
What arrangements did you make to pay her for taking care of your children?
I gave her $150 a week, every week.
Is that right?
She was paying me $150, then she fell behind in November and stopped paying me.
How come?
Back in November, I lost my brother. I had to take some leave of absence from work, and when I went to go back to work in December, they asked me not to come back because I'd been off work for so long, so I wasn't getting a check every week. And then 2 weeks after that, my grandmother passed away as well.
Now, what about the father of these children?
He was with me.
Why wasn't he giving her any money?
He wasn't bringing home much. You know, $200–300 a week is basically getting us by. I mean, it's $350 for a week of hotel.
If it's $350 a week for hotel, madam, you can find a small apartment for less than that.
Well, not where we live.
Where do you live?
In Virginia.
Sure you
It's
can.
$1,200 a month for an apartment.
Yeah.
And when you're bringing home $300 a week, that's not making it much. It's
Well,
not
you
gonna
just
make a
told me it
rent
was
payment.
$350 a week for a hotel room.
Yeah, and we were struggling. And that's why I told Mrs. Plaster that when I got my taxes that I would give her some money because I didn't pay her in November when I lost my job.
So how much money did you give her?
$1,000.
And how much money do you owe her?
Nothing. After I gave her the $1,000, nothing was said until I was served with a court paper.
Ms. Plaster, I'll hear you.
She paid me $1,000 February the 12th, and I watched the kids from February the 12th to March the 4th when they took them out of there. She owed me $2,000 on February the 12th. She gave me $1,000.
So she owes you $1,600.
Right. But I rounded off to make it just even $1,500.
She said in November, I assume when you stopped working, you got behind.
Correct.
And you were behind $2,000. You gave her $1,000 at that time in February.
That's not right. I mean, a month, that's $600. Okay, that's what you know, if I owe her anything, that's what I should have been owing her. But I gave her the $1,000 in February because I didn't give her any money for December.
When you gave her the
$1,000
$1,000 in February, did you take your children home?
No, I took them home
Just a
in
second.
March.
So they stayed with her for another month, another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Are they with you now?
Yes, they are.
Who else do you live with?
The father of my kids.
You have 3 children with this man. Is there any reason why you're not married to him?
The time isn't right. I mean...
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, a week after I sent my children to her, a guy got shot in the neighborhood.
Now I'm missing the kids because they had moved back with her.
We're still going to be friends, communicate. I don't have any problems against her. I just wish maybe she could have talked to me about it more.
She just wouldn't pay me the money.
I'm very appreciative of what she has done for me. Like I said, I tried to help her out the best I could, too.
Holly McLean is suing her ex-husband, Steve Reed, for his share of their daughter's wedding. Steve claims he already paid his share.
All rise. Now, this is case number 319 on the calendar in the matter of McLean versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Reed, how many children do you have, sir?
6.
Who is your oldest child?
Stephanie.
That's this child here?
Yes.
And your youngest?
Brandon.
How old is Brandon?
Brandon is 8.
You and Mrs. McLean were married for how long?
2 years, I believe.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
Your daughter is planning her wedding. And according to what I read, Mrs. McLean, you and your former husband agreed to split the cost of the wedding. You did a budget. It was going to be $5,000. Mr. Reed, you agreed to pay for half.
Correct.
You did, in fact, pay $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
But the wedding went over budget, and you want him to pay half of the overage of $800.
Yes.
And Mr. Reed says, you went over budget, girls. That's your problem. I agreed to pay for half the wedding, which was budgeted at $5,000, and that's what I'm going to pay.
I agree.
Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone...
Don't listen. Did you have a nice wedding?
Yeah. She had a beautiful wedding.
Beautiful wedding, beautiful bride, beautiful husband, nice-looking parents. Don't act... What?
I said yes, thank you.
Do you let him speak at home? Is that the reason he feels compelled to speak here? Because he's not allowed to speak at home?
Don't speak, honey.
She's cute. Okay, now getting back to you. Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone over budget was we had it at the reception at a place that cost a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Now, when you realized that this was going to cost more than you anticipated, because you could have found a site that would have cost within the budget, but that's not what you really wanted, right? You wanted a different place. What did you do when you realized you were going over budget?
Well, Stephanie and I did a lot of emails back and forth because she actually lives in Utah. And I was planning the wedding here. And so I had told her that it looked like we were probably going to go over the cost of the wedding. And so she was kind of my in-between person between her dad and I, and had emailed to him and his current wife that we were going to be probably going over the budget.
Do you have an email from him indicating that's fine, I will pay half of whatever the overage is?
I do.
Let me see it.
This was actually an email to Stephanie.
That's fine. Well, this is not from Mr. Reed. This is from Mr. Reed's wife.
Right.
Do you know that your wife sent an email, sir, that said, listen, that's to Steph, and said, your dad and I don't have a problem if you go over the $5,000, some, as long as your mom is willing to split the cost. Do you know that your wife said that?
At the time that email was written, no, I wasn't aware that she said that.
When did you become aware of this?
I became aware about 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding as we discussed the overage.
So your wife was speaking allegedly for you, which she can't do, but they acted upon this and then went over their budget. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it was really in good faith that your daughter went over the budget because she felt as if she was dealing with your wife, and your wife had the authority to say, okay, as long as mom splits the cost and as long as you're not going over too much. So when you found out, Mr. Reed, about this email, what did you do?
Well, by the time I'd found out about the comment that my wife made, things had already become contentious because all along I had made it clear to Holly that I agreed to a certain amount. Not only that, in the beginning, Holly wanted to spend far less. I actually felt that we should spend more, and it was my suggestion to pay the $5,000. Then come back.
Is that true?
That's true.
That's a good guy.
So to then come back to me and then say that she wanted me to pay more money, and not only that, in the beginning, when she wanted me to pay the overage, she wanted me to pay the entire overage, which she estimated would be $300 to $400. And like I say, it became contentious, and so I said, we're going to have to settle the matter after the wedding. I don't want it to affect the wedding.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Reed. So?
So?
Well, He did not agree to pay half of the overage.
I know he did not agree to pay half. But when I had sent them an email stating why we had gone over, and he even told me on the wedding day that he would help me pay the overage of the wedding.
Did you tell her that, Mr. Reed?
What I said is that I would look at the expenses and analyze them and get back to her.
And did you look at the expenses?
I did.
Anything there look untoward to you?
The invitations cost $280 more than we had originally was discussed with my wife, Suzanne. There was a DJ that I knew nothing about, and he cost $450.
Well, DJ is great at a wedding. Did everybody have a good time?
I think so.
Did you dance?
A little bit.
I didn't say if you danced well, Mr. Reed.
Yes.
I said, did you dance?
I did.
Other than the DJ for $450, was it originally anticipated that there was any music?
There was going to be pre-recorded music. Okay.
I have very little sympathy because if what we're talking about here is $800, I would have paid the $2 so we wouldn't end up here. So there wouldn't be any bad feeling. You probably already paid so much to raise your daughter to this point, right? Probably cost you a couple of bucks over the course of, how old are you?
19.
19 years? So I don't know whether I would make a big to-do. But let's hear. All right, the DJ, what else?
Let's see, there was a video that was done that was presented at the wedding. It was a nice video. It was $210.
A video of what?
They interviewed Stephanie and Tim about the way they met and things like that. And it was shown at the wedding. Yes, it was nicely done. But once again, I knew nothing about it. The bridesmaids' outfits, traditionally the bridesmaids pay for those.
That's absolutely right. Why didn't the bridesmaids pay for their own outfits?
Well, Stephanie and I discussed that we would just take care of that.
Well, I don't know. You can't do that and obligate him. Ms. McLean. First of all, it's not traditional.
Right.
And second of all, you can't be magnanimous with his money. What else?
The last one is traditionally a portion of the flowers are paid for by the groom or the groom's family. So the portion of those flowers, I have it listed at $248.
Can I say something about the flowers? I didn't feel we should ask Tim's family to pay for the flowers. They were actually having a reception in Arizona a week later, and they were paying for everything there for that reception. And they also paid for the luncheon, so I didn't feel it was right to ask them to also pay for the flowers.
Well, very nice. What do you want from him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses?
No.
You cannot use your former husband as a cash register.
And later today,
You don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly McLean says ex-husband Steve Reed owes for his share of their daughter's wedding. Steve says Holly went over budget.
He doesn't want to be used as a cash register.
Oh, I understand.
Which is, we'll make the arrangements and you'll pay your half. And we don't have to consult with you. We're going to tell you this is what we want to do, and if it goes over, it goes over. Well, that's unreasonable.
Well, there's more to it than that.
You may explain it to me. But did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses before you agreed to pay for them?
No.
Did you call him and tell him you decided not to ask the bridegroom's family for the flowers?
Yes, we did tell them that.
When?
Before the wedding, when he had stated that they thought that the groom's family had to pay for part of the flowers.
And what did you say? You told him no.
I didn't agree with that.
Fine. That doesn't mean he's not entitled to say, that's fine. You want to pay for that? Pay for it.
Okay, but there's more to it where we had the reception. We actually wanted to have it at my parents' house so we could cut the costs. Well, Steve didn't want to have it there.
I don't blame him.
It would have been, the cost would have been a lot less.
Miss McLean, what you just said to me has absolutely nothing to do with what I've told you, which is you cannot use your former husband as a cash register. He's a person with opinions, and as long as you want to spend money and you want him to reimburse you for the money, he has the right to an opinion. You may not agree with that opinion, and if you don't agree with it and you want to spend the money, you spend it. What he's complaining about is you didn't discuss it with him, and that was wrong. I just want you to understand that I don't think your father was wrong. I think your mother was well-intentioned, but I don't think your father was wrong. and I've been involved with lots of weddings. And I wouldn't think of saying to my ex-husband, you're going to pay for half, and I'm going to decide where it's going to be, what kind of music we have, what flowers we have, what the invitations look like, and I'll send you the bill for half. Right?
But we did...
Flattened out on the floor. And I wouldn't blame him. So, in case there's any bad feeling, I don't think your father was wrong. And Miss McLean, if you wanted to do these things and you chose not to get an agreement with him before, you pay for it yourself. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He did agree to it in his email with his current wife, and I really felt like he should have paid half.
I actually did send $102 over the amount, and then I was just served papers. There was no discussion after that.
I just wish it wouldn't have happened. I would have rather not had an expensive wedding at all.
It's just water under the bridge. We'll move forward and we'll be fine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Friedman versus Zarba. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, are suing Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Gilbert Leal, for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent. Gilbert is countersuing, claiming Elizabeth destroyed his belongings after they broke up.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Your Honor, this is case number 43 on the calendar in the matter of McManus versus Leal. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
All right, Mr. McManus, it is your claim that the defendant, Mr. Leal, owes you, really you and your wife, for 2 loans that you made to him during the course of his relationship with your daughter.
Correct.
One was for $1,500 towards the purchase of a car for him.
Yes.
The second was $125 that he needed because he was short of rent, and he called you and asked you for the money. Mr. Leal says that you generously agreed to help him buy this car, and it was a gift. The $1,500 was a gift, and as was the $125 that you gave him towards the rent. Mr. Leal is counterclaiming because he says when he attempted to break off the relationship with your lovely daughter, she threw a hissy fit and broke a whole bunch of his property. Yes. Correct, sir? I'm going to start with you. When were you and Elizabeth dating?
January, I believe.
Of what year?
Was it 2003?
Elizabeth, when?
It was in March of 2003.
March.
And there was a time that you lived together. Would you tell me when that was?
After dating there, we actually both moved to Michigan, where I went to school at, and Mr. McManus wasn't too happy there.
Oh, this is a whole saga here. When did you live together, Mr. Leal?
But I moved down, and that was in January, I believe.
2004?
Yes.
Now, you didn't have a car.
No.
You were sharing a car with Elizabeth?
Yes.
You wanted your own car, and you approached your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed to give you how much money?
They gave me about $3,900.
Go ahead.
I found a car that was well decently priced for $4,900.
You saw a car for $4,900. Mm-hmm. All you had was $3,900. Mm-hmm. So what did you do, Gilbert?
I didn't really think twice about it. At the time, I didn't really find anything that was working with $3,900.
Life is very short.
Right.
And I have a lot of work to do.
Right.
So, you have $3,900. Mm-hmm. The car you want is $4,900. Mm-hmm. What did you do?
Well, we were living together, like you already know. At the time, me and Elizabeth kind of briefly discussed it a little bit, but it still wasn't anything, too serious. So her dad approached me with helping me.
Gilbert, at some point you had to call Mr. McManus and say, I have $3,900. The car I want is $4,900. Can you help me out?
Right.
So, I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's not what I do. How did the McManuses find out that the car you sought exceeded your bank account?
Through Elizabeth.
Did you discuss with your parents the fact that his eyes were bigger than his stomach?
Yes, Your Honor, and there was a...
Just a second.
Okay.
So he told you, and you went to your parents.
Uh-huh. He also spoke to my parents.
Just a second. Who went there first, Elizabeth?
Me, and... Okay.
And what did you say to mother and or father?
I told them that Gil had backed my car into someone else's car in a Taco Bell parking lot and took off paint,
that he said he was going to pay for, and that the whole car situation wasn't working out, and he needs a car so he can get to work and I can do my thing. Can you...
That's what you told your parents?
Yes.
Can you what?
Can you help him out by giving him a loan?
Who did you discuss it with, your father or your mother?
My mom.
What did your mother say?
We had offered to loan Gil the money well before he found the car. And then they moved down here, and he found the car, and then Elizabeth called and said, you know, he could really use that help of that loan that you had offered him, because the car that he wants is $5,000, and his parents was able to give him $3,500. And so we gave Gil a loan for $1,500.
That was in February of 2004?
Yes.
Now, when did you break up?
March 14th, 2004.
So, a couple of weeks later, right? But there was a second loan. What was the second loan about?
Well, before they moved down, I had told him that if he needed help making the rent, food, whatever, to cover his share, if he were to advise me if he was in any problem, that I would be willing to help. He called me directly on the phone, said he was short of the rent. I knew that she didn't want to hear about that problem because she was struggling to make up her end
So you
of
gave
it.
him $125?
On the condition he'd pay me back when his first time he got paid, which would have been within 10 days, as I remember it. I've never heard from him since.
Now, a couple of weeks later, you decided you wanted out of this relationship. Tell me why.
We had been arguing pretty much when we moved in. It was just tough on us. I wasn't working full-time, and she then started talking with her ex-boyfriend and different things like that, and disregarded our relationship altogether. I said it wasn't going to work out, so
Now let's
I
get to your
decided to move.
counterclaim, Gilbert.
Well, counterclaim was that day that I moved out that night. She decided to help me move by breaking my stuff and throwing it at me. On top of that, I had two items that were very close to me and very personal to me that she threw and lost.
Allow me to intervene if I may. I was,
Okay.
if I could be so bold, Judge.
You can't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You double lock the door from the inside. Nasty. Take your hands off your hip.
Sorry. Yes, I agree. That was nasty. And he said, I'm leaving. And I snapped.
And later today,
You have a drug problem?
No, ma'am.
So then why weren't you working?
We were working. It
Well,
was
two
just
people working, it would seem to me you could have some sort of place for your children.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, claim Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, Gilbert Layell, owes for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent.
Go ahead.
We did have a big fight. And what he's referring to is that he left the apartment for 2 hours, didn't tell me where he was going, nothing. And I ended up locking the doors on him, and I went to bed. And so whenever he came back, he's pounding on the door, and I wasn't going to let him in because...
You mean you double locked the door from the inside?
Mm-hmm.
Nasty.
I was trying to do that.
Yeah, take your hands off your hip.
Sorry. Yes, I agree. That was nasty. I was trying to show him that don't just leave me for hours and don't tell me where you go. So what I'm trying to get at is that he came in the house, and it ended up that he said, I'm sick of this, I'm leaving. And I snapped. Your Honor, I was very upset because we have this agreement to be living together, and he's trying to bail on me. So I said, I will help you move out. And I took his things, and I went like that, and the rock he was referring to, and an angel that were important to him, the last I ever saw those items were on the bed.
What did you break, Elizabeth?
I don't believe I broke anything. He
well,
fails.
you were throwing his stuff.
I shoved it off the table. I didn't, throw it as like launching it at him.
You didn't pick up my glasses and throw them at me, crush them and throw them at me?
I tossed things across the room.
Elizabeth, now your brother is dying to say something. Was he there that evening?
He was not there that fight.
Mr. McManus, you want to say anything?
Yeah, briefly, when
Well,
Gil,
then stand up.
Stand up by me, honey.
when Gil was moving out the final time, he was fully packed, and at no point did I witness any destructive act.
Well, your sister already has told me that she threw his stuff around, right? So you're not going to say she didn't
dispute that.
because she couldn't. Good.
But I don't believe that it was a result in any destructiveness, meaning his items at no point, to my observations, were broken as a result of any arguable tantrums.
Good.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When Elizabeth and Gil came home, and Elizabeth found out about the $125, what came out was, Mom, he wasn't short $125. He's still short $200 for the rent. I have a hole in my wall. I have a hole in my door because he's gotten upset and he's creating damage. And I said to Elizabeth at that time, he can't stay. You know, I don't mind supporting you. You're my daughter. I'm not going to support your boyfriend.
Got it. I got it. One of the problems is your husband, behind his daughter's back, had a conversation with Gilbert. He was well-meaning, but he said to Gilbert, look, so you're going to be short. If you're short, you let me know because I'll help you out. I can understand why Elizabeth was annoyed because he's supposed to be taking care of business and he wasn't taking care of business. Right, Elizabeth?
Yes, and...
All right. But I'm going to tell you something. Something that you said to me was really kind of stupid. And that is, if he decided to move out because you weren't getting along, why you lost your temper, I don't know. I would have thrown him a party. Not thrown his things. I would have thrown him a party. And you really had no right to lock him out of the apartment because irrespective of where he got the money, he was paying rent. Now, Gilbert, your parents love you?
Yes.
Is that why they were helping you with your money?
Yes.
Mr. McManus doesn't love you. And the reason he was helping you was because of his daughter, not because of you. He doesn't care whether he doesn't see you starting today until hell freezes over. Now, are you a moral person, Gilbert?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. You see, now, if I was superstitious, I would say, when you sneeze after you say something, it's because you're telling the truth. So Mr. McManus really doesn't care whether he sees you from today until hell freezes over.
Elizabeth McManus and her parents, Rich and Manon McManus, claim Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend, Gilbert Layell, owes for a loan to buy a car and unpaid rent.
Are you working now, Gilbert?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get to work last week?
Another car that I own.
When did you sell the Camaro, Gilbert?
No, I didn't sell the Camaro yet. But
Where
I'm
is
going
it?
To. It's in my possession.
What kind of car did you buy, Gilbert?
Just another commute car, like a little Civic.
Why would you do that, Gilbert?
I planned on selling the Camaro, so I needed something that was a little less. The Camaro was giving me a lot of problems as far as...
Well, I hope that you sell it for at least $1,500, Gilbert.
I hope.
Because you owe the McManuses $1,500. I'm surprised at you, sir. I'm really surprised that you committed yourself to another car that you purchased and paid for while still having the old one and didn't have the good judgment and the moral compass to say, these people were nice to me, and I'm going to see to it that they get their money back. The $125 for rent, sir, that's your problem. Put your hand down. That's your problem. You offered, he accepted, you gave him $125. Don't do it again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500, which is the amount of money that you loaned him for the car. Now, as far as your personal property is concerned, Gilbert, you have photographs of the personal property that she destroyed?
No, I don't.
You have bills and receipts for the personal property she destroyed?
No, ma'am.
Well, I can't help you, sir. Thank you. That's all. Counterclaims dismissed.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I felt that I shouldn't have to pay $2 grand for a rock and a stone, especially to a pathological liar like he is.
The only thing I really cared about was my family things that were handed down to me.
What upset me was that he lied to them.
Well, after everything that was broken, I didn't really care.
He took advantage of me, too. I could go on and on, but that'd take all day.
She just was upset that I did that.
I think she's come away a little wiser for it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Plaster versus Deal. Step forward, please.
Jona Diaz is suing former client, restaurant manager Robert Altunian, for the cost of a painted mural. Mariana says Robert never paid for her work.
Ms. Diaz, you claim that the defendant owes you for a mural that you painted for his restaurant. And Mr. Altunia says that he didn't like the result, so he's not paying for it.
Right.
When did you hire Miss Diaz?
Exact date, I don't really remember.
Month.
Because maybe November or October.
When did he hire you?
On November 5th.
And what was your agreement with her, Mr. Altunia?
Actually, I was trying to find a mural person.
Listen to me.
What was my
I had
agreement with her? $3,000.
Okay, you were going to pay her $3,000
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
mural. And how long did she work on the mural?
Almost 6 weeks.
And you didn't like the result?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of the mural that you completed?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. How did you find her, by the way, Mr. Altunia?
I put the words around that I need a mural, and she knew one of my secretaries. It was a friend of hers or something, and when I asked her, she said, I'll do it.
And you agreed on a $3,000 price?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see what you've put in there in place of this, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I actually run it. I have a couple of samples that...
I don't want to see a sample.
No.
I want to see what you did over her work.
Here. And the top one, too. And the back. That's it.
This is what is over the mural that she painted.
Yes.
You sure?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Oh, I see what you did. You used part of her mural in the center, which is what you showed me. You used this part, and you had someone else paint pictures of women, dancers, around it.
Yes, ma'am, it's true.
Okay, good. Well, it's certainly, I will tell you, Miss Diaz, have you seen it? I'm going to show it to you. It certainly is lovely what he did. He added to your piece. Just show that to Miss Diaz. Okay.
I know the artist that did this. He's awesome guy.
Yes,
awesome.
he's wonderful. He used your center.
Right.
And then he painted beautiful women dancers around the back, and he is awesome.
It is awesome.
He is awesome. Let me
Yes.
have it back.
I met him while I was working on this because
there's no question about it.
Yeah.
That as far as artists go, Miss Diaz,
he's amazing.
He's terrific. But Mr. Altunia, you see, this is your problem, sir.
Okay.
How long have you been in the restaurant business?
32 years.
Let's say Officer Byrd and I decide to take our families to your restaurant.
Sure.
We come together. How many are in your family?
6.
All together. You know,
Altogether,
children.
6. Yeah.
My basic family is 22. Children, their spouses, and grandchildren.
Sure.
So between the two of us now, we're 28 people. And we come to your restaurant. What kind of food do you serve, sir?
I have 8 kind of different restaurants that I represent.
This one?
I do not. This one is French restaurant. It's a cabaret, madame.
Good. So we come to your cabaret, and we eat, and we drink, and at the end of the meal, I say to him, you know what? I didn't like the food. I had better French food across the street.
All right.
So, Mr. Altunia, we're not paying the bill because we didn't like your food. We ate it. We used it. But it was better food across the street. Would your first phone call be to the police and say, these people are trying to scam me out of a $5,000 bill?
No,
They came, they ate my food, they drink my wine, and when I present them with a bill, they say, you know, we had better French food. What?
Before I forget, can I give you the answer?
Sure.
I would invite you again for free next meal.
Well, the next time, sir, that she paints a mural for you, maybe she'll do it for free. This time, you got to pay for it.
My personal knowledge is...
What?
Good. Your Honor. That's good.
Sir, I wouldn't use her mural. Listen to me.
I did not use her mural.
Just a second. You did.
No, ma'am.
You used her mural because
No,
I'm
ma'am.
looking at the...
All right.
I'm looking at the work that
All
your
right.
artist did, and your artist used right in the center a little piece of her work. Whether you chose to use her work or not, that's not what's relevant, sir. If you made an... Ms. Diaz, don't bother me. I think you ought to find a different line of work, by the way. But what I'm telling you is she spent 6 weeks there. The fact that she is a person of marginal talent is not her fault. She really wanted to do a good job. This is the best job she could do. She didn't necessarily try to hurt you. And all during the work process, because I read the papers, you kept giving her money for supplies. Instead of looking at it and saying, listen, my 6-year-old grandchild could do this job.
I did the same thing around her.
Oh, just a second.
Okay,
Instead of doing that, you continued to give us supplies because she says, I could do better, I could do better. And I would have said, listen, let's stop right here. I see after 2 weeks this is not working out. I'm going to give you $1,000. I'm going to hire somebody else. But you, Mr. Altunia, said to her, fine. Here's the money. Go continue to work. Not the right thing to do, sir. You made a mistake.
Can I answer again, Ivan?
Sure.
All right. When somebody starts, you know, she's a nice girl. When somebody starts, and a friend of my secretary too, she was very nice, and she's very kind. Believe me, she did her best. I seen her go from books to bookstores. I seen her bringing so many pictures. I seen her sleep there sometime. I was wrong by hiring for such cheap price and expecting the most.
Mr. Altunia.
Yeah.
That's where you're mistaken.
That's right. I think
that's your mistake. You've been in business 33 years. You get what you pay for.
True, Your Honor.
And the artist who ultimately did this, clearly, if they
Your Honor,
charge
please do me a favor. I gotta tell you this. I want to show it to you
I want to
what
also
she did.
express some things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go.
First of all, I mean, I'm not going to discuss art, and here it's just my time that I put into that thing.
Does it sound as if you're not going to win this case?
No, and also, I mean, just defending a little bit my art, this thing we agreed before I started that I was going to do over the stage, because that was the stage.
Your Honor, excuse me.
And I did it in God leave. So
Miss
I
Diaz, Miss Diaz, listen
right.
to me, sweetheart.
Right.
He's got to pay you the $3,000. Put it down. He's got to pay you the $3,000 because that was your
Your Honor,
agreement.
one more second, please.
Yes.
I told her to put a Moulin Rouge.
Yeah,
Moulin Rouge is a very
it's a
famous
windmill.
restaurant. Moulin Rouge is a beautiful place in Paris. I met better over here. I had a lot of money available to give anything she wanted. I have $1 million location.
Listen to me.
I have now picture. I told her to make one Moulin, the windmill. That's how she finished it. And I had to work in the top of Moulin Rouge.
No.
Please look at it.
I did the Moulin
Look what
since
she
the
did.
beginning. It was
Yeah, I wanted the Moulin.
amazing. It's amazing. And
You're going to win
okay.
anyway. Please don't. You won already. What are you fighting for?
Mr. Altunia, what I'm telling you is you're a businessman. You've been a businessman for 33 years, according to you, in the restaurant business. You made an agreement with her. Your agreement was she's going to paint, do the best job she could for $3,000.
Right.
The fact that you thought you were getting something for nothing,
That's right.
that's your problem. See,
I
then
guess
you had
it
to
was.
hire somebody to come in and finish the job. And I want to tell you something. The person that you hired is a person that has a tremendous amount of talent. But that's your problem.
It's
She
true.
worked for 6 weeks. You got to pay her. Judge for the plaintiff.
Your
The
Honor.
amount of
Hold on,
$3,000.
wait,
Thank
don't
you.
give nothing.
Goodbye.
Parties are
Bye.
excused. You
Luck.
may step out.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very, very happy about it. I am, and I'm amazed of how fun and how smart she is.
Judge Judy, I think she's phenomenal.
It's kind of funny that they didn't like it, because if I show the proofs, well, it's over, whatever. I'm glad it happened.
She's right. I used her artwork continuously.
He will say that it was full of love, that he loved it.
The work she did, they didn't like it. It didn't work with me. For that restaurant particularly.
I love painting, and I don't consider myself a bad artist. I'm just different artist.
No, I like her personally because she's a lot of energy.
I have my own style, and for sure I will paint again.
Anyway, no problem. I'm so glad.
Bride-to-be Alicia Burton is suing her cousin's friend, 25-year-old Heather Duncan, for causing her and her wedding party to be kicked off an airplane. Alicia claims she had to cancel her wedding.
Now, this is case number 104 on the calendar in the matter of Burton versus Duncan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Burton, you were supposed to be married in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And according to your complaint, the defendant was a guest of a member of your wedding party.
Mm-hmm.
You were all supposed to be traveling from one place to another by plane. Where were you coming from?
We came from Flint, Michigan.
And you were going to Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Your complaint alleges that Miss Duncan, while you were waiting for the plane in Michigan, I assume.
In Atlanta.
That was a layover?
Mm-hmm.
Got drunk. And because she was drunk and unruly, your entire wedding party was thrown off the plane. You missed your wedding. All your deposits were lost. You're still not married, all because of her bad behavior.
That's true.
That's what you allege. Okay, so you hadn't met her before?
No.
Who was she the guest of?
My cousin Tiara.
Is she here today?
Yes, she is.
That's Tiara. Okay, so tell me the story. I'm listening.
We got to Atlanta, and we were going to get on the next plane to get to Las Vegas. AirTran had overbooked each flight 15 to 20 people, so we had to wait for the next flight. That was at 9 o'clock in the morning. The second flight was at 11:25. We're on standby, so we're on a list.
Why were you on standby?
That's the buddy passes, they're standby tickets.
How many buddy passes did you have?
I had, for me and my fiance, his uncle and aunt, and my cousin and her two friends.
Where did you get them from?
Ibrahim, a friend of the family.
Ibrahim.
That's
He's
you.
here as a witness, too.
What's your last name, sir?
Abdul Rahim.
Mr. Rahim. Where did you get these buddy passes from?
I work for the airline. We get 6 buddy passes a year. Once Tiara said that she had a cousin going to get married, I tried to help him out. So I got them from 2 other friends that work for AirTran.
So you get 6 per year. How much do you pay for them?
They're $50.
So it's $350.
Yes.
Okay. Sit down. Okay, go ahead.
So my fiance's uncle and aunt got on the plane. We had to wait for the 7:45 flight. My cousin Tiara and her friends decided to go drinking in the airport. Me and my fiance slept for a while, and then we woke up about 3. We were looking for them, and they were downstairs at a bar. They had already drank a bar tab of $79, and Heather and her friend left with this guy they met at the bar. They got back about 7, and we just made it up there in time to get on the 7:45 plane. The flight attendant said there was 5 seats left, and there was just 5 of us, but she miscounted. There was only 4 seats.
Okay, so there was one person who had to get off.
Yeah, but Miss Duncan was hollering and cursing at her, so she made everybody get off the plane. So we all get off the plane, and Heather's still at the bottom of the ramp arguing with this woman. The lady's closing the door. She's trying to open the door, and we're all walking up the ramp, and she's still down there arguing. So my fiance goes down there and tells her, come on, we have to go because the ramp's closed, and you can feel it pulling back. She takes off walking. We meet back up with her at the baggage claim, and she started cursing at the lady in the baggage claim, telling her that she's never been treated like that before, and she flies here and there. But we're on standby. You can't act a fool when you're on standby because you represent the person that gets you the ticket. So after I filled out my claim, I go outside, step outside for a cigarette. She comes running past me saying, stall the police, they're after me, and takes off. I'm sitting there like, what's going on? So I go back in. They got U.S. Homeland Security there, Atlanta police there, the airport police. They're looking for her. She calls my cousin on the phone telling her she's laying in the back of somebody's truck. And that's where it all went from there. So we had to call the reservations in the morning to see if we can get put on the next flight in the morning to go to Vegas. They canceled our tickets because of her actions. We had to purchase new tickets to go home. It was a mess.
It was a mess.
Yeah, disaster.
Okay. You remember what happened that day?
I do.
You remember everything that happened that day, Miss Duncan?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you drunk?
We had all been to the bar. We had all
I
been
didn't ask
drinking.
about anybody else. I only asked about you. Were you drunk?
I was not over my limit, no, ma'am.
You think you were able to drive a car?
No, I would not have drove a car, no, ma'am.
Well, then you were drunk. Then you were legally drunk if you would not have driven a car. Did you create a scene on the plane?
I did not.
Tell me what happened on the plane.
Well, we were on standby all day, like she said.
That's right. You were on standby all day, and now you're on, and they tell us one person
Didn't
that
get
they
on
have
the
to get
first
off.
flight. The second flight, 11:30 flight.
Get to the 7:45 flight.
Well, it's very pertinent to the situation because her fiance was cleared, got off, which made 5 people that now needed to board the last flight.
So there was an extra seat on the 11:30 flight.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But you wanted to travel with your fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why didn't somebody else get on that flight?
By then, the ramp, they had unlocked the doors, and once you came out of the door, you could not go back in there after they shut and locked them.
Should have let him go. Then you wouldn't have had trouble, right?
But he came back looking for me.
I got it, Miss Burden. All I'm saying is if he had gone to Vegas, you all would have been in Vegas by that night, right? You know, Miss Drunk Out of Her Mind and all the other people who were drinking would have gotten there. Go ahead.
So the last flight out, 7:45 flight, 4 seats available. She says 4 of us can stay on the flight. 1 person's going to have to stay. Because of all the confusion, we all were turned off that flight. It came down to the last minute. At the door, she's still saying, we have to go. 4 of you can stay on the plane. 1 of you has to go. And all the confusion, we all were escorted off that plane.
Well, the confusion, Ms. Burden suggests, is because of your bad behavior.
That is not true.
Were you on the plane?
Yes, ma'am.
Your last name is?
Island.
Tell me about her behavior.
When we got on the plane, we knew that there was 5 seats where there was supposed to be 5 seats available. The lady tells us that there's only 4 seats available. So when I find out there's 4 seats, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get off, even though I know these are my cousins, the whole reason we're going, but there's 4 people that can go, and I knew that I would be able to get there in the morning. So I was like, I can just get off the plane. Heather grabs me and says, no, don't get off the plane. She's still trying to converse with the lady, and there's only 4 seats available. There was no way that there was going to be another seat, and there was another lady. She was trying to get her bags into the overhead compartment, and we're all trying to help her get the bags. Heather tells me to go sit in the lady's seat, and I'm like, why would I sit in her seat? She already has a seat, you know what I'm saying? So that's really what happened on the plane.
Good. You can sit down. You can stand up, sir. Why have you not yet married?
Money-wise, we saved for a whole year to go to Vegas to get married.
Well, what kind of deposits did you have there?
I have receipts for everything that I put a deposit on and paid for. And I have police reports and statements from the Atlanta Police Department and Air
I'd like to see
Train
the
Airways.
police report, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think that when you cause somebody that kind of aggravation, there has to be some punitive action.
I honestly don't feel so. The fact
Well,
of the
I
matter,
don't give a rat's behind what you think.
And later today,
I did not have enough money to pay the whole
Why did you
rent.
get a job?
I did get a job.
Well, if you had a job and you're getting welfare and you're getting some child support, what did you have to ask for charity for?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alicia Burden claims her cousin's friend, Heather Duncan, caused her and her wedding party to be kicked off an airplane. Alicia says she had to cancel her wedding.
Well, this is a letter from Air Airways, directed to this gentleman who was employed by them, and it says, this is to notify you that your non-revenue and reduced rate travel privileges have been suspended for 180 days. This action is being taken as a result of an investigation into an incident concerning an individual traveling on your buddy pass under itinerary whatever. The individual in question is Ms. Heather Duncan, that would be you, exhibited unprofessional and abusive conduct both towards our passengers and your fellow crew members. And you are responsible for all actions for your guest passenger, and you are responsible for notifying your past traveler of all policy and procedures. Well, you don't have to be notified to how to behave like a human being. They found that your conduct caused him to lose his privileges for 180 days. Can't hold your booze. And then the woman down at the luggage department says that you threw a pen and paper at her. You behaved very badly, Miss Duncan.
We had been at the airport for 13 hours. We were all very frustrated.
Nobody else caused the same kind of scene that you did.
That's right. We were all very frustrated. Everybody was crying. Everybody was cussing. Our luggage was gone. I was the one that had to step up, talk to the lady about the luggage.
No,
and
no,
I
no,
did.
you didn't talk to anybody.
I did.
You
I
were
lost my
screaming
temper.
profanity, and you lost your temper, and you threw a pen at her, and you threw paper at her. But I'm not so sure, Miss Burden, that all of you were thrown off because of her conduct.
Our tickets were canceled because of her.
You mean your buddy pass tickets? So if you wanted to go to Vegas, you would have had to buy a ticket, purchase a ticket. Why didn't you do that?
We wouldn't have no money to get home.
What kind of work do you do?
I pack parts.
And you?
I'm a homemaker.
You are home together?
Yeah, we live together.
How long have you lived together?
About
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. You have children, I assume?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Well, so there's no real big rush about getting married. This is not a, you know, this is a marriage that's been coming on for 8 years.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with getting married in Michigan?
That's what we're gonna do now.
Good. That's what you should do now.
Yeah.
You caused them a lot of aggravation, Miss Duncan. And I think that when you cause somebody that kind of aggravation because you couldn't control your actions, there has to be some punitive action that's available.
I honestly don't feel so. The fact
Well,
of the
I
matter,
don't give a rat's behind what you think. This is not a touchy-feely situation, madam. They planned this day planned to be in Las Vegas, planned to have a wedding, and because of your bad behavior, they weren't able to do that. And I think that you are responsible for some of the pain and suffering, although I usually don't even like to entertain those lawsuits because of your bad behavior. Not only that, but you caused him aggravation as well. You were the only stranger to this wedding party, and you didn't behave yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, she did the best job she could, so, you know, ain't really nothing I can do but keep it moving.
It was very upsetting. I didn't get married.
They should have gotten on the plane, and everything would have been fine.
She got issues and problems that she needs to seek counseling about.
They just wanted money. They got what they wanted, so, you know, keep it moving.
The drunk ain't worth a piece of gum on the bottom of my shoe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Acree versus Jones. Step forward, please.
28-year-old Karen Acree is suing her ex-boyfriend, Donald Jones, for rent and utility bills. Donald is countersuing for rent, lost wages, and a loan to get her stereo out of pawn.
Miss Acree, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Jones lived together for a period of time in a lease that you both signed.
That is correct.
There was a problem with an altercation that the two of you had. He was put out of the apartment. You claim he owes you some bills, some rent and utilities. Mr. Jones says that he paid up while he was living there. Once he was put out of the apartment, he has no intention of paying for rent and utilities. And he claims that you actually owe him money for some loans and assorted stuff. So he has a counterclaim. When did you move in together?
In July of 2004.
What was the rent on the apartment?
$650.
Who moved in?
Both of us did.
Anybody else?
My daughter.
So the three of you moved in?
Yes. She's 5 years old.
You get child support for her?
Barely, but yes.
What was the financial arrangements you had with Mr. Jones?
He signed the lease as well, and he would be paying half of the rent.
Was that your arrangement, Mr. Jones?
Correct.
Where were you working at the time, Miss Acree?
I was in and out of jobs. I was working through temp agencies.
So you weren't working steadily?
No.
And what about you, Mr. Jones?
I work for County Road and Bridge Department, 10, 12-hour days.
Steadily?
Yes.
How much were you earning, Mr. Jones?
$1,200 a month.
And how did you put your money into the rent?
Every 2 weeks I cash my check, and since she was home during the day, she would take care of the bills. I'd just give her money.
Is that right?
That is not correct, Your Honor.
Well, tell me how you were paying your bills if you weren't working full-time.
I was paying it through TANF, which is temporary aid for families in need, and that's what I get each month. And then
You get
I would
welfare?
get, yes.
Well, that's an easier term. Let me ask you this question, Miss Acree. Why in the world would I award you any money from Mr. Jones when the state was paying your rent?
Because he did not pay his share like he was supposed to.
That's not correct.
Okay. What happened in October?
October, he got physically violent with me, threw a cell phone at me, bruised me. I had to call 911 because this happened in front of my child.
So that was in October?
Yes.
October what?
October 10th.
You filed for protective order?
Yes.
What happened with that protective order?
That got dropped.
By whom? What do you mean
By
got
me.
dropped? You dropped it?
Yes.
Why?
Because of the fact that after he had been in jail, he had to go to domestic violence classes, and we went to court and everything. I figured everything was okay.
Did you let him back into the house?
I told him he could come back into the house, yes.
Did he come back into the house?
When? In December.
For how long?
Until I got evicted in February.
Did you stay with her in January and February?
No, I didn't. I moved out of our apartment on the 10th to my parents' house. And
10th of October?
Correct.
Were you put out by the police, Mr. Jones?
I was arrested there at the apartment.
How long did you stay in jail in October?
2 days.
Did you move back with Miss Acree?
No, ma'am.
You did not?
No, I live with my parents. And in November, she contacted my parents' church trying to borrow money to pay her rent, in which case my dad was contacted by the church because my name was on the lease as well.
And you asked for some money?
From a church, yes, I did.
Why?
Because of the fact I did not have enough money to pay the whole
Why did you
rent.
get a job?
I did get a job.
Well, if you had a job and you're getting welfare and you're getting some child support, what did you have to ask for charity for?
Because at the time I did not have a steady job, but I
So
did
you didn't
after
have a
that.
job. Where are you working now?
Now I'm working at a gas station 40 hours a week.
When did you start this job?
A month ago.
And the previous job?
I had for a couple months until he got me fired from it.
Miss Acree, how long had you been receiving welfare to pay your rent?
For about a year.
Before you met him?
Yes.
So it wasn't because of him that you were in this financial position?
No, I was in school.
School to learn what?
Accounting.
And?
And I have a degree.
You have a degree in accounting and you're working at a gas station.
Yeah, I
Something
know.
doesn't balance out here, Miss Acree. Why don't you get a job with H&R Block instead of getting a job at a gas station?
Because I'd rather not work at H&R Block, but that's...
You'd rather work at a gas station. So what did you go to school for accounting for?
Because I wanted a degree.
Okay, let me hear about your counterclaim.
Okay, first off, you know, not only did I pay her bills and her rent, you know, she had a car payment that I was helping her out with, cell phone bills also. She worked for a month and a half through the 6 months we were together at that apartment. She also asked me for a loan of $150 to get a car stereo out of the pawn shop.
Which
so I
is
gave
not
her,
true.
So I gave her the $150.
When did you do that?
Do you have the month on that?
No, no, no. Don't ask her.
I don't know. I don't have that.
Your Honor, I have the proof right here that it was not $150 and he went with me to the pawn shop. It was $54.
What month?
In March.
March of what year?
This year, 2005.
What were you doing going to the pawn shop with him in March to get your stereo out of Pock?
I got it out this year because of the fact that I had to put it in there to make the rest of a car payment.
What I don't understand is if you're not together with him, why do you call him to help you get something out of a pawn shop?
He was calling me, actually, and he asked me, he told me he didn't want me to lose it. And I said, okay, well, it's $54 to get it out. And he said, okay, let's go get it out.
How did you come to go with her to the pawn shop in March?
I didn't go through the pawn shop. She asked me to borrow money, as she has multiple times.
Then you shouldn't lend her money, Mr. Jones.
I'm a slow learner on that one, I guess.
Miss Acree, I don't believe he owes you a dime for rent. I believe that he worked. You did not. I believe that he contributed to the household. You did not. Now, if you had had a job all that
But
time...
I did. I worked at Kodak, and I worked...
Show me proof that you worked anywhere. Show me proof. You're not entitled to any money, Miss Acree. And Mr. Jones, have you learned your lesson?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Goodbye. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I didn't think it was fair because of the fact I know he owes me for the rent, but that's okay.
Well, obviously she saw that she didn't work.
Well, he really did throw the cell phone at me, and it did bruise me.
It was a cell phone, look out.
Therefore, he did go to jail for assault and battery.
She was constantly harassing me at my workplace and phone calls and emails and whatnot.
I asked him for my money back, so that's why he got a restraining order on me.
I have no idea what you're talking about. She's nuts.
Disc jockey Alan Herzig is suing former clients Bonnie and Paul Moorer for putting a stop payment on his fee. Bonnie is countersuing, claiming Alan slandered her.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Miss. Now, this is case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Herzig versus Mora. Parties been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Everybody have seats.
Mr. Herzig, you were retained by Mr. and Mrs. Mora, according to your complaint, to be the DJ at their son's bar mitzvah.
Correct.
They gave you a $500 deposit.
Correct.
The balance due of $650. According to your complaint, you went to the bar mitzvah, you performed your service, the Moras gave you a check for $650.
Correct.
And then they stopped payment on the check.
Yes, ma'am.
You want your money.
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Mora say that your services were not up to standard, that they feel as if they didn't get what they had contracted for, that you ruined their son's bar mitzvah. In addition to ruining their son's bar mitzvah, you slandered and defamed them by writing letters to the temple, by walking around with placards outside. I don't know what you said. And they're suing you for a refund of their $500 deposit, as well as another $4,500 for their aggravation.
Correct.
Okay. Where was the bar mitzvah?
Desert Shores Community Center, the same location that my young witness had his bar mitzvah.
Okay. And how many people did you have at the bar mitzvah?
Approximately 100.
When did you retain Mr. Herzig?
Approximately 2 months before,
Okay.
2 to 3 months before the event.
Do you have the contract?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd
It
like to
was
see it,
actually December 16th, 2004.
And when was the bar mitzvah?
January 30th, 2005.
Okay. Would you show this to Mr. and Mrs. Moore and ask them whether they recognize signature on that and whose signature it was on the contract?
Yep, I have the same one in my...
Yes.
Okay, so that's the contract.
Yes.
No. And you showed up?
Absolutely, ready to do a job.
Showed up, and how many hours were you there?
I arrived at 4 o'clock p.m. Set up time from 4 o'clock to 5:30. At 5:30, start music.
And when did you finish?
9:30.
Between 5:30 and 9:30, did anyone approach you and indicate that they were dissatisfied with what was going on?
Ms. Moore came up and said, I'm unhappy the music being played right now. It was during the dinner time. And I said, no problem, we'll promptly change it, which we did.
So other than that one time that Mrs. Mora came up to you during the course of the evening, did either of them come up and say that there was anything wrong with what you were doing?
Later on at about 8:40, maybe 9 o'clock, Ms. Mora came up and asked, she had given me originally that evening 4 additional notes to perform and to say, as I remember, something about one of them being guest had graduated from college. But there were a couple, how about those announcements? And I said, we've already made the announcements. I didn't know if she was in the room.
Can I add to that?
I'm going to get to you in a second. Okay. When did you get your check for $650?
After we put the equipment back into the van, we sat down at the table with Ms. Moore, and we requested our check, and we started just kibitzing a little about the evening, and that was it.
She gave you the check?
Yes, ma'am. Wrote the check right then and there.
Did she say at that point anything to you about your service that evening?
Word zero, which meant...
Okay. Don't tell me what he's going to tell me.
Okay.
You say word zero.
Word zero.
Okay, who's going to speak?
I'd like to say.
Okay.
Okay. When I originally hired Alan to be my DJ, I had interviewed a few DJs. And one mentioned that he was going to have a disco ball for lighting, which, you know, I would like for my son to have something special. And he said, oh, that's outdated. I have sophisticating lighting. I have speakers with that blink, and I have, you know, and I was excited because I thought, wow, I'm going to have that. That was not at the party. That's what initially, after I watched the tape of the bar mitzvah, or it was even before then, I said to my husband, was there lighting? And there was no lighting. The montage that he made for me that he was professionally supposed to do.
I don't know what, could you stop hitting the table?
I'm sorry.
Hit the table.
The montage of...
A video montage that he supplied a projection screen that he told me he was going to add magic to. I scanned all the pictures at home on my computer and handed him a disc. He just added music to it, and he told me he was going to spin the pictures and do his magic to my pictures. And I have a copy of that here that I'd like you to see, that within the first 4 pictures, there was a slag in between the pictures. As a professional, after making a tape of this sort, he should have viewed it before he showed it to my guests. There was a slag, and everybody thought the tape was over after the first 4 pictures.
The sound system was inadequate. We had music cues for people as they were to come out and be introduced that never went off. We didn't know he was going to have a 12-year-old child as his DJ, training
he told me
him
he was going to have an
at our
assistant.
bar mitzvah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He said he would bring an assistant. We didn't know it would be a young child that he would be given on-the-job training during our
he
affair.
trained his son throughout the... I have it on tape also.
That was quite embarrassing for us, and our guests couldn't believe it. We had certain music that he left at home.
My father was an entertainer who had passed, and I wanted my family to hear my father's music while we're eating. I brought the tape. He didn't even bring it to the bar mitzvah. He had to call his wife to bring the tape to the bar mitzvah.
Did she bring it?
She brought it, but it was stressful to me.
Now you've told me the story.
Some of it.
Shh. Now you've told me the story, and now I'd like to know why you gave him a check for $650 at the end of the evening.
My husband wrote
First of all, he's not telling the truth. I'm the one that gave him the check, not my wife.
I don't care who gave me the check. You gave him the check.
He came over. He said, it's time to settle up. We still had guests around. I didn't want to cause a scene. It was a very big day, a lot of excitement. Took out my checkbook. I wrote him the check just to get it over with. And we went home and discussed it, and we got several complaints from guests. People called us, they emailed us, they told us the next day or two how awful things were.
I want to see those emails. I want, just a second, listen to me very carefully, Mr. Mora. I want to see the emails from your guests telling you how awful the bar mitzvah was.
I have.
Okay.
I'd like to see them.
Okay.
You have those letters?
Those are some letters, but I want her to read this.
I want to see a letter.
I'll give it to them.
I just want to see an email. Oh, this is terrible. This is not what I want.
Okay.
This is not what I want. And this is not what I want. And this is not what I want. Did you understand English? English is, I want to see emails that your guests sent to you the day after the bar mitzvah telling you how horrible the bar mitzvah was. These are letters.
Okay.
These are letters 6 months later that you solicited from people saying, I was present at the Mora bar mitzvah and would like to make some comments about what I observed.
Well, she just printed it out that day.
Listen to me, madam. On your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me one Bubba Mice, I find everything else that you say suspect. So that's a grandma story.
Oh, I know the Bubba Mice.
That's a Bubba Mice, a grandma story. It means it's an untruth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alan Herzig says former client Bonnie Moore owes for his DJ services. Bonnie claims Alan did a poor job. She is countersuing for defamation of character.
What I want to see is a guest at a bar mitzvah, because I've been to more bar mitzvahs in my day than you have, and I've made more.
Okay.
I have never had a guest that wrote me a letter or sent me an email telling me how horrible the function was because of the DJ. So when you said to me, I got emails the next day telling me how horrible the function was,
I didn't say
that's not true. That's not true.
Don't argue with it.
No guest at a Jewish bar mitzvah tells their host and hostess what a terrible time they had. Now, solicited, you can get letters from people telling you that they thought that the DJ was awful. Call the guest and say, I'm going to court, and I want you to tell me, or I'm having a discussion or a dispute with it. Put your hand down. You tell me one Bubba Misa. You know what that means?
Yes.
Good. You tell me one Bubba Misa, I find everything else that you say suspect. So that's a grandma story.
Oh, I know the Bubba Mice.
That's a Bubba Mice, a grandma story. It means it's an untruth. It means what grandmas tell when they tend to fabricate. So nobody wrote you the next day or 2 days later or 3 days later what a terrible time they had at your son's bar mitzvah because of the music.
Your Honor, excuse me.
Don't speak to me yet.
Okay.
So the answer to the question is, you gave him a check the day of the bar mitzvah because you didn't want to create a scene at the bar mitzvah. And then you were talking amongst yourselves. Not because you got emails from anybody the next day, because that's a lie, or the day after that, and you decided to stop payment on the check, right?
Right.
Now, after you stopped payment on the check, Mr. Herzig called you.
Right.
When you called him, what did Mr. Mora tell you?
My wife was unhappy with your performance.
And?
And we are not paying you, and we don't want to hear from you again. We've dusted our hands of you.
Was that the end of the conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any subsequent conversation with him?
I tried to.
So what did you do, Mr. Herzig? Because that's the second part of their complaint for which they want $4,500.
I sent them eventually I sent them an email. I left messages.
I'm not talking about what you sent to them. They are complaining that you slandered them.
I sent them an email. That was the slander.
He wrote letters to all the religious leaders in the community with this case.
Do you have copies of the letters? And shh, just a second. Do you have copies of the letters that he sent?
I have one copy with CC's underneath.
Fine. I'd like to see it.
This was registered to me.
Okay.
He also sent a letter to the owner of the Israelite, which is the Jewish paper here in Las Vegas. I have a letter also from...
He carried a picket sign in front of our school, religious school.
Shh, just a second. Okay. Is this what you're talking about? This...
Oh, he sent that whole package.
Shh, just a second.
Yes.
This says...
He sent that to Mike, the owner.
Okay. And it says, how about a headline like Bonnie and Paul Morris stiffed their MC DJ?
Yes.
Well, that's what you did.
Okay.
That's what you did.
Okay.
You wrote
I
him a
don't think
check.
that he should be
Listen to me.
telling
You wrote him a check.
the newspaper that.
You, listen to me. You wrote him a check, and then you stopped payment on the check. That means he got stiffed.
Disc jockey Alan Herzig claims client Bonnie Moore owes for services rendered. Bonnie is countersuing, claiming Alan slandered her.
Mr. Herzig says in this letter that he spent substantial time in your house helping you get the pictures scanned. Is that true?
He agreed that I told him I just bought the scanner. He agreed to come over and do that. But he just showed me how to do it. I already knew. Go ahead.
Listen to me. The answer is he came over to your house, which is not contained in this contract, to help you scan the pictures into a scanner. Not contained in here. He did it because he was being...
Yes, he was. Very nice to do that, although his price was outrageous to begin with anyway.
Mrs. Herzog, that's an untruth. He was charging you $1,150 to perform at your event, which included this montage of pictures. And if you're telling me that that's an outrageous price, you should have hired somebody else. I'm telling you it's not an outrageous price.
Okay. Well,
okay. And I'm still trying to find slander worth slander at all.
I don't think any of my business should be brought to the attention of my four rabbis. He sent it to in the newspaper.
Listen, what you think is one thing. He could have been a nice person and not sent it to anybody else. But he chose not to do that. That's not actionable.
Going to the school at checkout time with a poster that says I owe him money, and I have a letter here from the receptionist.
Listen to me.
Did you want to read
He has a right. I'm not looking at a letter. He has a right to do that. You do owe him money. That's not libelous. That's something that's untrue. You do owe him money.
Okay. I believe he did a job. I think it was inferior.
Just a second. Then you don't use him again. Let us say that you go out for a meal, Mrs. Mora, with your husband and your family, and you go to a new restaurant, and you eat at the restaurant, you finish everything on your plate, and you get back in your car that evening, and you say, you know, they advertised this restaurant as having the best ribs in town. And the truth is, I don't like those ribs as well as I like the rib guy at the end of the street. So I played by credit card, and I'm going to cancel my credit card, despite the fact that I ate the ribs, paid the bill, and I didn't like the way the waiter spoke to me, so I'm going to cancel that charge on my credit card. You think you'd get very far, Mrs. Mora? Zero. So if you don't like the restaurant, the next time you're going out for dinner, go someplace else. It's not as if Mr. Herzig didn't show up. It's not as if you got somebody else to play instead of him. You allowed him to start at 5:30, finish at 9:30. I am absolutely 100% positive that people clapped to the music, danced if they danced to the music.
They didn't.
Were on the dance floor. Maybe not everybody. Some people were on the dance floor during the course of the event. In any event, you used his services. You ate his ribs. When you stopped payment on his check, you had no right to do that. You stiffed him. You stole his money. And then you said, you don't like it? Sue me. Which is what he's doing. He wanted to embarrass you. I assume he embarrassed you. That's too bad. What he was saying is true. He's allowed to embarrass you. You have anything else you want to say?
Yes, how about he promised me the lighting system, the sound system was bad. I have on tape.
No, madam, I want you to take a look at your contract. And I want you to show me in your contract where it's in the contract.
No,
Listen to me. That's what you are bound by.
Okay.
The four corners of the contract. I want you to show me, Miss Mora, in the contract where it says that he's going to supply you with a lighting system.
Well, how about the sound system here?
Listen to me. I said, show me in the contract, in the four corners of the contract, where he says he's going to supply you with a lighting system.
That was my mistake, not having him write it, I guess.
You're absolutely right. What kind of business are you in, sir?
Hotel.
What kind of business in the hotel?
Casino.
What do you do in the casino?
I'm a department manager.
You know about contracts?
A little bit.
Good. Well, you have to explain that to your wife, sir. Anything that's within the four corners of the contract, or what courts consider if you sue him. If you said to me he didn't show up until 7 o'clock, and I find that he didn't show up until 7 o'clock, that means he gets docked. The fact that you didn't like the ribs is, as we say in French, bad. Next time, do you have another bar mitzvah that you're planning? Don't use Mr. Herzig. He doesn't want you to use him. They owe you $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff and your counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
What is the excuse? You may step out.
I wasn't there to do injustice to her son. I was there to get them swinging from the chandeliers.
You never brought the kids up. The kids were all bored.
They know a caterer should know how to set up a room. They set up the room improperly.
Contract is important, but he did a lousy job.
There are other issues that I can't say on TV.
I know my job. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I'm proud of the job that I did.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. is suing 16-year-old Diana Helzer and Diana's mother, Lori, for the cost to go to his prom. John says Diana stood him up.
All rise. Now, this is case number 173 on the calendar in the matter of Banks Jr. versus Helzer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You are suing Mrs. Hessler because her 16-year-old daughter, according to you, stood you up for the prom.
Yes.
For your senior prom. And you had a lot of expenses, and you believe that her mother is responsible for her standing you up.
No, not necessarily, Your Honor. I don't
Well,
feel
she's
that...
responsible because you can't sue her daughter, so you have to sue her mother. It also says that her daughter did not stand you up, that you didn't contact her as you should, but she has a substantial counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that since you believed you were stood up for the prom, you have embarked upon a course of conduct that amounts to harassment and defamation of her daughter's character, which forced her to leave school because she flunked all of her finals, and it became a catastrophe, and she has a counterclaim. When did you invite Dana to the prom?
About May 20th.
Did you do it in person?
No, ma'am. I was introduced to her through a friend of mine. It was her best friend, and I was on the internet, and she instant messaged me. She sent me a message, and...
Who did?
Diana.
Diana sent you a message?
Right.
Saying what?
Just starting a conversation, just, hi, my name is Diana, something to that effect.
So you didn't ask her to the prom?
I did. Eventually, I did.
In person or over the internet?
Over the internet and in person.
Is that right?
I don't remember him asking me in person to prom, no.
How do you believe he asked you to the prom?
Over the internet, we were discussing the fact that he needed to date, and he said, you know, do you want to go with me, basically? And,
And what did you say?
I said, okay.
You said, okay, so now you had a date. And you knew when you go to the same school?
Yes.
So you knew when the prom was?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to buy, you rented a tux.
No, I bought a tux.
Bought a tux. Figure stopped growing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Buy tickets?
Yes, Your Honor.
Rented a car?
No, I was gonna drive.
Okay. Tux, tickets. What else?
I also had dinner reservations. There was no fee for making the reservations, but there was for canceling reservations.
And what were all your expenses?
My expenses totaled to be, I believe, about $500 and some odd dollars.
Now, did you end up going to the prom, Mr. Banks?
No, ma'am.
Did not?
No.
Tell me what happened. What was the date of the prom?
Saturday, June 4th.
And just prior to June 4th, when had you last spoken with Diana?
June 3rd.
Where did you speak to her?
I spoke with her at school.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I informed her that I'd be getting everything ready, and
Did she tell you what color her dress was?
Yes, it was pink.
Did she tell you what kind of flowers she liked?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the flowers?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of flowers did you get?
I got a bouquet of roses, and I got a corsage and a hand thing. I don't know.
The whole 9 yards?
The whole 9.
Did you tell her what time you'd pick her up?
Yes, Your Honor. I told her I'd be there to pick her up at 4.
So what happened, Mr. Banks?
Saturday, I had been running around picking things up, doing everything, getting everything ready. I hadn't spoken with her, but I had been speaking with her best friend, the one that set us up, and my best friend, because we were going to double date to prom. I had been with her friend's date all day, and I was on my way to pick her up, and I got a phone call from her friend saying that she had an allergy attack and she couldn't go to prom.
What time was that?
I'd have to say about 3:50.
Go ahead.
I was getting ready for prom at about 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Got dressed, went and got my nails done. I made my hair appointment and went and picked up my dress. When I was getting my nails done, I did have an allergy attack, and I went home and I tried to call John after talking to my mom. I called him and his sister answered saying that he would be out with friends all night. So I decided, okay, I'm going to stay home for a while. A friend of mine called and said, Diana, or aren't you going to go to prom? And I said, no, I don't feel good. She says, would you like to come over, hang out, and we're not going to go do anything? And I said, okay. We ended up going over to another friend's house, just relaxing and watching movies the rest of the night, and we fell asleep.
Well, that's pretty outrageous, my dear Diana. That's pretty outrageous of you. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
You agree with I disagree.
Excuse me, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to your daughter, whose conduct was outrageous. Now, if you have an allergy attack and you are bedridden and staying home, that's one thing. But to go over to a friend's house, hang out and watch a movie is something entirely different. And I would be angry, too, if I got stood up at the last minute.
I had not yet given my permission for them to go.
I don't care.
Okay.
Whether you gave your permission or not. Did she use her own money to buy the dress?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't know about it?
I did know about it.
All right. And when you found out about it, did you say to her, I haven't given you permission?
Yes, ma'am.
When she went to get her hair and nails done, did you say to her, don't bother to have your hair and nails done because I haven't given you permission?
What I said was I haven't yet met Mr. Banks and I haven't given my permission. I need to meet him.
Miss Helser, it's not an excuse. I'm saying that your daughter's conduct was reprehensible for a 16-year-old. She stood him up for his prom.
Okay.
And she stood him up not because she was sick, because she decided she didn't want to go. And she went to a friend's house and hung out with friends. And that is reprehensible.
Is that what you did?
No.
Is that what you did?
That is what I did.
You didn't know that?
Did you stand him up because you didn't want to go, or did you stand him up because you went and had an allergy attack and then went over to Julie's house?
It was because I had an allergy attack and my friend had wanted me to come over because she knew I wasn't feeling well and wanted to hang out.
Listen to me. If you have a debilitating allergy attack, you stay home. Go ahead.
That Saturday was prom, June 4th. June 5th, I broke my rib, June 5th playing basketball, and so June 6th, I stayed home, which was a Monday. I called her best friend on the phone. We talked about it because she felt bad as well because she set us up together. And I decided to call Mrs. Helser, and we spoke on the phone for a while. She was a really nice lady, and she also felt that what she did was inappropriate. And I know that she's not legally obligated to pay me back because, you know, it's an agreement to go to a social event and that's not a contract. However, her mother being of age and me being of age, she did make a verbal contract over the phone, and I have a witness here. Her best friend is here to testify because she was on the phone when I called her.
What did her mother say?
We spoke about what Diana really did on prom night.
Well, what did you say to her mother? Her mother's here. She's a party. You can tell me what you said to her
I
mother.
told her that I had an agreement to go to prom with her, and she informed me that she was aware of that Diana actually had an allergy attack, and I told her no, that Diana actually decided to spend the day with her boyfriend because I guess apparently she got a boyfriend that morning, and he asked her not to go.
She got a boyfriend that morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning she got a boyfriend, and she decided, and he asked her not to go. So, you know, and that's perfectly fine. But
Are you saying that somebody knows that? That you have a witness here?
That I was on the phone and that she told her that? Yes, I have a witness here.
I'd like to see the witness.
Kayla.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told me she had spent the night at her boyfriend's house.
What boyfriend?
His name is Jason.
Did you tell your mother that? Look at me. Did you tell your mother you were going to spend the night with Jason?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helser stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother, Lori, are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Kayla Brett.
Kayla, are you a friend of hers?
Not anymore, but I was.
Were you the girl who was supposed to double date with them?
Yes.
You had originally set them up? Did you have a conversation with Diana with regard to why she didn't go to the prom with him?
Yes, I did. I called her to make sure that she was ready to go because John was on his way, and she had informed me that she did not want to go.
Did she say why she didn't want to go?
She said she had an allergy attack, but as I continued to talk to her later on that day, before my date came to pick me up, she told me that, or I think it was June 5th, that she told me she had spent the night at her boyfriend's house.
What boyfriend?
His name is Jason.
So she said she spent the evening with Jason?
Yes.
Prom evening with Jason?
Yes. She also had, there's a website called MySpace. I don't know if you're familiar. It's
I don't do that machine.
It's a website where you go and you can write journal entries on there, leave comments for friends, and post pictures up there. She had left a blog explaining what she had done that day, and she said that she was at a friend's house roasting marshmallows and she had spent the night there. That's basically confirmed that what she was doing, and I did have a conversation with her, and I was quite upset, and I told her everything, how messed up it was that she had done that.
That's pretty messed up. Did you tell your mother that? Look at me. Did you tell your mother you were going to spend the night with Jason?
I told my mom I was going to spend the night over at Julie's, and I told my mom that we were going over to Jason's to watch a movie. And
your mother just said the word Julie. I never heard your mother say Jason. Your mother was whispered to you, you went to Julie's.
I did go to Julie's, ma'am. We went over to Jason's, who was not my boyfriend.
Just a second. So from Julie's house, you went to Jason's house? Mm-hmm. Didn't have an attack in between getting from Julie's house to Jason's house, did you?
They're neighbors, no.
Didn't have an attack between Julie's house and Jason's house, did you?
No, ma'am.
And she did call me and checked in, and she called at midnight and let me know that they were just about to finish up a movie and that she would be back at Julie's by 1.
When you spoke to Mr. Banks on the phone 2 days later, did you tell him that you would compensate him for his expenses?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What did you say to him?
I said I needed to see receipts.
So you did discuss expenses?
We discussed expenses.
Fine, and you said I needed to see receipts.
Before I would even consider a discussion.
I don't believe you.
Seriously.
I don't believe you. Yep, I believe that you said to him, I will pay those expenses, but I have to see receipts.
I have emails here where he's saying that I agreed to pay $270 for prom tight. Diana said, quote, Diana said she's going to pay me $270 for prom. Hit me up. And then to Kayla, who responded, I say $300 even. What's an extra $30?
Listen to me. All I said to you was you had a discussion with Mr. Banks, and you are under no legal obligation. I don't believe you are under a legal obligation, but for the fact that you agreed to pay him.
I didn't agree to pay him.
Your Honor.
Just a second. In order to have a contract, Mr. Banks, let me explain something. It gets to be a little bit tricky. There has to be, in order to have a valid contract, there has to be some consideration. That means that each person is giving something. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What would be the consideration, in your judgment, for Ms. Helser to make an agreement to pay you any part of your prom expenses?
I think she felt morally obligated. She still stated to me that Diana had just gotten a job. I didn't know Diana had a job. She said Diana had just gotten a job and that she'd make Diana pay me back my money as long as I had receipts. And I have receipts here right now.
Just a second. So she said she would make Diana pay you back?
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe you.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helser stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother, Lori, are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
Go ahead.
I was on the other line. He had three-wayed Miss Helser. While I was on the phone, she did say that Diana would pay for the expenses out of her own paychecks because she had just gotten a job.
That's not true. What I said was I would consider, based on seeing the receipts, And whether
Miss
or not
Elsa,
you were on the line.
Miss Elsa?
Yes.
I'm going to flip over for a moment to your counterclaim, which I'm prepared to hear in 30 seconds or less. He's got a claim for maybe $500. He's got receipts that totally says maybe $500. You have a $4,000 counterclaim because,
Yes,
according to you, your daughter was harassed, defamed, etc. She flunked all of her finals, because of what he did. So you
Yes.
want to get there, please? Diana?
Yes, ma'am.
Start with the ad.
I had been on MySpace and I saw a ad that Kayla had posted about paying people to kick my...
Read it directly.
Just as you don't have to read it to me.
Okay.
What does that have to do with him if Kayla wrote something?
John had confronted some girls at school about...
Don't tell me any hearsay. I don't want to hear any hearsay.
See it.
He had been talking to Kayla on the conversation that I have in front of me about 2 girls that are going to beat my... and that basically I would look better if my was kicked.
What else?
Okay. In this email, he's saying that she'll look even worse after getting her beat. The girl that's going to beat her is Jason's ex-girlfriend, because her and Diana used to be friends, and she thinks that's f***ed up, that she's with her ex. Oh, well, whatever the reason is, she wants to beat her. It'll work. Hit me back.
What does that have to do with him?
This is his word saying that
I don't care.
he's
What does
got
that have
2
to do with
girls.
him? According to that email, Jason, the new boyfriend, had an ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend of Jason is going to beat her up.
He's got 2 girls at school ready to beat my daughters.
No. Listen to me. What you just read to me was that the girl is Jason's ex-girlfriend who is angry with her. He may not discourage it. He may even like it. But that's what you just read to me.
I disagree.
Well, I don't care what you agree with, Miss Helsa. I would listen to you if you took responsibility for your daughter's bad behavior and said to me, listen, this was a teenage thing. I feel responsible for my daughter's bad behavior. My daughter blew him off, and he was a very nice young man. And
I didn't know
I'm
that.
speaking. I'm speaking. Well, he was a very nice young man. He called you 2 days later. He called you most respectfully. Otherwise, you would have hung up on him. He called you most respectfully and said to you, this is what your daughter did, and it was not the right thing to do. So he was most respectful. And if you came into court, or didn't even have to come to court, if you said to him, look, I think what my daughter did was reprehensible, and I'm going to do the best I can to cover your expenses, and I'll make my daughter pay me back for whatever your costs were, because what she did was immature. She's only 16. But also unkind. And I don't raise my child to be unkind, an unkind human being, then I would have respect for you instead of making excuses.
I'm not making excuses.
You did make excuses, because I didn't hear you say to me at any time, he's a nice young man, he tried to do the right thing. My daughter did the wrong thing. My daughter was not hospitalized. She did not seek doctor's counsel that day or the next day. She went out with her girlfriend, Julie, and her new boyfriend, Jason, and they hung out together until after midnight, and it was not the right thing to do when he was supposed to pick her up at 4 o'clock, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not, I'm speaking, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not in an emergency room.
We did not have any idea when he would arrive to pick her up.
Madam, you are operating somewhere in La La Land. Your daughter knew he was going to pick her up at 4 o'clock.
Did you know that?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you did. Because you spoke to her and you were supposed to double date. So don't give me baloney. Let me see the receipts, please. Did you flunk your classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave school?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what happens when you do the wrong thing. You didn't give the flowers to anybody else, did you?
No, Your Honor.
You're even, my dear, going to pay for your own flowers, because I think that your mother made an agreement with him to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $415. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are
Counterclaim is
excused.
dismissed.
You may step out.
Yes, my daughter should have said, I'm sorry. But It goes the way it is.
It's upsetting. You know, it was my senior prom. It was, I graduated. I'm not going to be back next year to be able to go to prom and going off to college.
Any threats made to my daughter will be taken considerably seriously, and next time we won't just call the sheriff.
When I found out she spent the night at her boyfriend's house, it was completely over.
The anger that I feel is not towards him whatsoever. It's about the fact that he and her were both willing to have people beat me up.
I honestly know enough people that hate her enough to where I wouldn't have to pay any.
Calvin Mountjoy and his fiancée, Tracy Barrows, are suing Calvin's children, 20-year-old Amanda and 25-year-old Kevin, for an assault. The couple claims the defendant showed up at their home and started a fight.
Now, this is case number 161 on the calendar in the matter of Barrows, Mountjoy versus Mountjoy. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Barrows, this is your fiancé, is that correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Mountjoy, these are your 2 adult children.
Correct.
You are divorced from their mother, and this would be their mother. All right, we're just getting the players going. Who are you?
Brother.
But not involved in this incident.
Somewhat, I am.
In any event, according to your complaint, these 2 young people were having some problems with you. They believed that you were crank calling their mother, so they decided to come over and discuss it. And it is your claim that they assaulted you. The defendants say that they were the ones who were assaulted, not you, and their mother has a claim against you for damaging her truck, which they used to come over to your house. Is that right?
They used my truck to go there.
So, while the assault case has not been filed against the mother, I would like you to stand up with your children because I have some questions for you. How long have you and your former husband been divorced?
2.5 years.
And how long were you married?
23.
And I assume you don't get along.
I don't talk to him at all.
Did you talk to him while you were married?
I liked being married to him when I was married to him.
Okay. Now, there came a time, sometime, I believe in April of this year, when you started to receive telephone calls.
Yes.
Tell me about the phone calls.
They were just hang-up calls.
When did they start?
Mid-March.
Did anything happen in March between you and your former husband and his fiancée?
No, we've been going through some court hearings for contempt of court.
For?
His non-payment of spousal support.
At some point, I assume that you discussed these hang-ups with your children?
On one particular day, I called actually to my ex-husband and basically asked him if he'd called me, and he said no, and I said, maybe has Tracy called me? And he said, well, why don't you take it up with her? And I said, no, I don't take anything up with her. And by that midday, Miss Barrows called me screaming around, maybe 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the date that I had spoken with my ex-husband.
And what did she say to you?
Well, first thing that came out of her mouth was, who the f do you think you are? And I hung up on her. And she called back again and indicated to me, nobody's prank calling you. Here is my number. You keep my number for the next time I have to call you. You'll know it's my number coming up.
Now, when did you discuss this with your children?
About a week or so later, on the 25th of April, my son and I were having lunch. And in the middle of our lunch, a phone call came in. And I looked at it and I thought, well, gee, this is a 916-825 number. I answered it, I said, hello. And I said, what do you want? And nobody answered, so I basically hung up. So that evening, I was talking to my daughter. She'd come over and I told her Kevin and I had lunch, and today the phone rang. And she basically pushed the green call number, the call on my cell phone, and it dialed back the number, and I guess Tracy had answered the phone at that point.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. I just kind of recognized her voice right away that it was her.
What did she say?
At first she goes, like, hello, like, you called me, and I'm like, well, I'm just trying to figure out if it, whose number it was, and I said, and apparently it was her. And she goes, oh, just, you people need to get a life, and just kind of went off right after that. And I said, no, I just basically called a phone number trying to figure out who it was, and to my surprise, it was you. And I think it made her upset that I was actually, just saying that.
Then what happened, Amanda?
Oh, she just kept calling. She just kept calling like 3-4 times, yelling at us, hollering about move on, and just calling me names. And
I want you to get to the point when you went over to their house.
The phone calls continued from her. My father had ended up calling one time. He goes, you guys need to stop harassing us. You need to stop bothering us. We're not prank calling anybody. I said, Dad, you're being crazy about this. I said, can you just hear me? That all we did was push the number on the phone, and it was her. I said, we're not trying to call anybody.
And I think the conversation before was that my mother was going to call their boss just to leave us alone. That's when my father had called. I think maybe he was upset that we were going to call his boss. After she was done with us, she'd called to harass my brother at work.
At what time did she call you?
It was about 8 o'clock in the evening.
And who did you speak to when they called?
The first person that spoke with me actually was my dad. And he says, well, I want to know if your mom and sister are prank calling Tracy. I told him I don't want anything to do with their affairs, flat out.
Perfect. What happened next?
My dad didn't speak long, and he's like, well, I want you to talk to Tracy. And I told him I'm at work. I can't do this stuff. She gets on the phone. She said, you listen here. And I said, well, don't start talking to me like that. And she goes, look, you retard. You need to start listening here. She was telling me that she's going to see that we're emotionally, economically, and socially ruined.
And your father was with her at the time?
I believe so. He stopped talking. She took the phone.
Mr. Mountjoy, did you call your son at work?
Yeah, I called him just to kind of see what was going on with this whole phone call situation.
And where were you and Miss Barrows at the time?
We were in the backyard.
Did you ever hear Miss Barrows say the things that your son ascribes to her?
No, that's not the way she is.
Miss Barrows, you heard what this young man says that you said to him. Any of that true?
No. I've never spoken to these children that way.
How long have you been engaged to their father?
We haven't actually even set an official date, but we've been together 3 years.
Was your relationship with Mr. Mountjoy the reason that his marriage terminated? Were you separated at the time that you met her?
We had known each other for years.
Just to say shh. The answer is?
No. Obviously,
No.
she said she put the math together just now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's nothing wrong with my hearing. There's nothing wrong with his hearing. That's what you said. You said they were pushing, and your sister, uncross your arms, and your sister punched her in the face.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Calvin Mountjoy and his fiancée, Tracy Barrows, claim Calvin's children, Amanda and Kevin Mountjoy, assaulted them. The defendant's mother, Kathy Mountjoy, is countersuing for vandalism to her truck.
You came home from work at what time?
I'm not exactly sure. It was about 8:30. I left work early. I was so upset. I was almost in tears. I was out of it. I left. I have problems with emotions and things like that. I just, had a rough time with it. That's why I asked them to leave me out of their affairs completely.
At what point did you and your sister decide to go over to their home?
We went to my mom's. My brother was there. My brother tried to call my dad. She wouldn't let my brother talk to my dad. So we said, forget, let's go see Dad.
Who went over?
Me, my brother, and my sister.
So the three of you went over?
Yeah.
What happened when they got there?
I was in the backyard. He came to the back and said, the kids are here. And they were standing at the end of my driveway, all standing like this, all three of them.
No, we weren't.
And
don't speak.
At this point, they had harassed us all night long. Nicholas called my home phone when he couldn't reach his dad on his cell phone, and my 13-year-old daughter answered it, and he called her a because he thought it was me. So at this point, I walked down to them and I said, you know what, you guys are on my property, you better act right. Well, they all got in my face and started screaming, and that's when Amanda caught me totally off guard and just slugged me right in my face.
Uncross your hands.
And she cold-cocked me. I flew back. Calvin ran to protect me, and before he even got to me, Kevin jumped on him. Amanda ran behind her mother's truck that they had parked over there. I called 911.
Do you have a 911 report?
Yeah.
I see it, please.
It's attached to the restraining order that I got against Amanda. At this point, Kevin dragged his dad out into the street and had him in a chokehold. Nicholas intervened and pulled Kevin off of his dad. Well, then Nicholas turned on his dad, and his dad's trying to fight both of them off. Everyone's running around. It was just pure pandemonium. It was crazy.
Did you have any injuries as a result of this?
My eye was bruised, my lip was fat, my nose was bleeding.
Did you take any photographs?
I have one photo of my face 3 days after.
I'd like to see it.
And we also have phone records proving that we never called them.
I'd like to see your cell phone records.
I have mine and Calvin's phone records going all the way back to February.
I'd just like to see April. You have your phone records?
No, we don't have paper phone records.
Okay. Now, what was the number, Miss Mountjoy, that you say came up on the phone
Or I don't call them. I don't know the numbers by heart. If I had my purse with me, I'd be able to look at my phone and indicate which phone.
On the 25th of April, 209-506. Who is that?
It's me.
You called him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Every time she answered and hung up, and then there's a couple of those where I left messages before I left to let him know that we were coming to his house.
Oh, yeah.
Just a second.
Messages.
You called and said you were coming to the house, but that wasn't until after 8 o'clock, sir.
Yeah.
That wasn't until, I'm talking about 7 o'clock. Whose telephone number is 209-85?
That's mine.
You called your father 1, 2, 3, 4 times that evening. Your mother can sit down now. You can stand up. You were there. Now I'll hear your version of the story.
We wanted to talk to our dad. That's it.
Well, why didn't you wait until things cooled off and speak to your father the next day, perhaps the three of you calling him and saying, listen, Dad, could we meet for lunch? Because we would like to talk to you.
Because we were upset.
Right. Don't speak. Don't speak. That's what your mother should have told you. Because clearly the three of you don't have a judgment among you. There are lots of people that get divorced.
Can we speak?
Yes. But try to listen to what I'm saying to you.
We understand, but this whole time, with her side of the story, we don't get to tell ours, and all
Listen
it sounds
to me.
like...
It's very easy. They did not come to your house.
That's not her
That's
house.
not her house.
That is where they live.
I was invited to dinner just that weekend before.
Listen to me.
Like nothing was wrong.
You don't get it. You were invited there for dinner the week before, which is a nice thing. On the night of April 25th, you were all going there because you were upset and angry.
Even if
now,
we waited till
you
the next
go,
day, she
you
still
get
didn't
into
answer
your
the phone.
mother's truck, and you go over to the house so that your father shares with his fiancée. And who's going to tell me what happens?
We go over to his house. We're calm. We want to talk to him.
You're not calm.
Okay. Well,
Don't tell me you're calm, because that's a lie.
We're not calm. We're upset.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine.
Okay, good. But we go over there. My brother goes up the driveway to see my dad. He has the garage door open. He comes out and puts his arm around my brother, says, what's going on? Then we get out of the truck and we go up there. He's asking what the hell's going on.
Just a second. That's not true. Because according to your mother, and according to the testimony that I've heard, your father said, I haven't been calling you. Your mother said, well, what about Tracy? And he said, I know about Tracy. Speak to her about it. So your father wasn't in a bubble. He knows what's going on. I have the phone records here to prove that.
Tracy comes out of the house and starts pushing my sister and calling her and all these other names. My sister's getting pushed. My sister pushes her back, and she punches Tracy in the face.
No, I didn't
Well,
have
Don't speak. I'm not talking to you now.
And
So far what we have is the two girls pushing each
they're
other.
pushing each other. Yeah.
And your sister punches her in the face.
No, it's not what happened.
Well,
Did you hear what I said? I said don't speak. He's telling me, I'll hear you.
Okay.
That's what your brother said. That's what you said.
Okay. So.
There's nothing wrong with my hearing. There's nothing wrong with his hearing. That's what you said. You said they were pushing, and your sister, uncross your arms, and your sister punched her in the face.
Yeah. My dad goes over to my sister and hits her in the face.
He hit me first.
So I grabbed him, and I'm holding him down on the ground. I go to let him up, and he tries to kick me as I'm getting up. Well, my brother gets in between us and tries to break up my dad and I and get everything straightened out. Well, my dad's chasing me back to the truck, so my brother gets in between to break us up. My dad tries to grab my brother and pick him up, but he can't. So my brother picks him up and throws him to the ground. My dad is screaming and yelling and kicking the truck. He has my brother pinned up against the truck. The cops come. The cops tell us nobody's pressing charges, just don't have anything to do with each other anymore. Everybody agrees. We're not even 5 minutes down the road. Tracy already is calling my brother's cell phone and already called my mom. So
Actually, their dad had called them when they left. I called Kathy and left her a message because she never answers her phone, and I told her, you know that you caused all of this.
Just a second. Well, if you left her a message, it would be on the machine. Where's your cell phone? Where's the machine?
My cell phone. I erased all the messages from
Why
her.
did you do that?
I didn't know it was going to come to this.
What do you mean you didn't know it was going to come to this, madam? You alleged harassment on the telephone, and you have something that would clearly support your statement that you've been harassed on the telephone and you erased the messages? You're too smart for that. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. How could you have avoided what happened that evening?
Turned our phones off.
No. How could you have avoided what happened that evening?
What she wants to hear is, we shouldn't have went.
Right.
That's not right.
That's right. That's what could have avoided all this stuff. Because the fact that you live with your mother, and your mother is angry that your father is no longer there, clearly impacts upon the peace in your home. But that's an old story. That's a story that, put your hand down, that I've heard for 30 years. The question is, if you wanted to avoid trouble, you shouldn't have gone over there that night. So it was your fault. It was, no, Miss Stupid over here doesn't think it was her fault, but I'm telling you it was your fault.
We can't even call him, even if we
Listen
did call
to me.
to have dinner with him the
He
next
works,
day, she would answer it.
No. Your father is not retired and he's not in a convalescent home. He has a job.
No, she works there. She answers the phone.
She answers the phone?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's the secretary.
She's the secretary.
Just a second. So you, just a second.
And I'm not a secretary.
What are you?
Do you have, let me tell you something. He doesn't love your mother anymore. Get over it. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you.
He doesn't.
That doesn't mean he doesn't love you.
He doesn't want to see us anymore. That's basically what I want to hear.
You are so fixed and so limited that it's going to be impossible for anybody, including me, to get through to you. The only thing I can say to you, the three of you together, is if you had not gone over there, stop playing with yourself. If you had not gone over there riled up on April 25th, this whole thing would not have happened. If you had taken a deep breath, counted to 10, and said, tomorrow, if I want to talk to my father, who looks like a very nice man. You look like a nice man. If you don't think he's a nice man, that's up to you. Don't have anything to do with him anymore. But don't go over to his house at 9 o'clock at night where he lives, belligerent, upset, and the first blow that was thrown came from her. No, that's what your brother said. No. That's what your brother said. That's not what she said.
He hit me first.
No, listen to me. That's not what your brother said.
The only reason he restrained my father is because my father hit me first.
I don't care if your father hit you.
Well,
I want to tell you something. If my 20-year-old daughter came over there in a belligerent way, I would have given her a good crack in the face, too. And I don't believe it because that's not what your brother said. So, I don't know, quite frankly, Mr. Mountjoy, what value it is, other than the fact that you've gotten it out of your system, it is to sue them. Can I give you monetary damages? Sure. Can I say to you, you've been vindicated that they were stupid to come over there that evening? Absolutely. On your lawsuit, each one of them is going to give you $10. And they've gotten my response to what they did. Now I'm going to deal with their mother's car. Their mother's car should never have been there, and if it was dented that night as a result of this altercation, then their mother's going to fix it. You're not going to fix it. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Go home.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Our father is completely over. Moved away from us and everything. Cheated on my mom and everything.
The mother is the root of all the evil.
We weren't really after the money, but the kids needed to be reprimanded in a way that they could understand. Whether they understood or not sure.
22-year-old salesperson Amy Domzlowski is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old collections specialist Brian Wilson, for medical bills resulting from a fight. Amy says Brian burned her face with a slice of pizza.
Yeah, this is case number 58 on the calendar in the matter of Domzlowski versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Domzlowski, according to your complaint, Mr. Wilson used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore, and he assaulted you twice. After he assaulted you, I assume you had nothing to do with him.
That's correct.
How long were you involved with him for this assault?
Well, I dated him originally back when I was in high school.
How old are you now?
I'm 22.
When I had first dated him, I was 16. And then we broke up, and we got back together in August 11th of 2004.
When was the assault?
January 10th, 2005.
Tell me about it.
Well, Brian and I we were at a bar, and we had gotten into an argument. He mentioned something about a friend of his who I had dated while we were separated, and how he was going to come back into town, and he wanted to see how I was going to react to his friend being back in town to see if we're going to try to reunite.
Mr. Wilson, you're going to get a chance.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we were arguing about that, and I told him, I wouldn't cheat on you. I care too much about you. And so he left the bar. He wound up leaving. So I went after him to make amends,
Why would you go after him to make amends? What had you done wrong?
I hadn't done anything wrong. I was just trying to talk to him, just to make sure, that we were okay, because I didn't want it to end on that.
What had you been drinking?
A beer, a Corona.
And you?
A Corona.
How many?
I had like 1 or 2.
Let's say 2.
Okay.
What about you?
I had probably about 1.5 before I got fed up.
Let's go to 2.
2.
So you've had a couple of beers and you're arguing at the bar. You couldn't argue at home?
That's how it goes every time we went out. Every time we went out, it was a big scene.
Okay. So now you're outside trying to make amends for something that you didn't do. What happened outside?
Outside, I went to my car to retrieve his jacket because he was like, I'm walking home, and I offered him a ride, and he refused. So
what did you say? You said, don't walk, I'll drive you home?
Yes, I said, I will take you to the house. And
how far is the house from the bar?
About 5 minutes driving.
How long walking?
I don't know, like a half an hour maybe. I'm not really sure.
How long a walk is it?
Oh, half hour.
Good. So we agree on that. So you wanted to walk home?
Yeah.
So even though he's walking home without his jacket, you went to the car, got his jacket, and followed him?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's when we started arguing some more. He pushed me. I went into a tree. My face was bloody.
How did your face get bloody?
I was scratched up. He hit me.
You didn't say he hit you. You said he pushed you into a tree.
Yeah,
when did he hit you?
He pushed me into a tree, and he hit me also afterwards.
He hit you with an open hand or a closed hand?
Open hand.
What happened then?
I was walking along the street by the bar, and I was spitting blood. I had blood coming from my mouth. So that's when I called my sister, and I needed her to come pick me up to give me a ride back to my car because I had walked a little. It was a distance when I was walking with him because we were talking.
You were talking or fighting?
Well, we were fighting.
Go ahead.
And I was crying, spitting up blood. My face was all bloody, so I had my sister come pick me up.
How long did it take her to get there?
She was at the bar as well, so it took her like 2 minutes. She was there real quick, so she heard how upset I was.
So you and your sister came in 2 separate cars?
Yes.
She came, picked you up in her car, and what did you do when she picked you up in the car?
She was cleaning my face. We cleaned my face off.
And then?
And then I went back over to the house to collect my belongings to leave. And he came in, he had a piece of pizza in the microwave, and he intentionally threw it.
Just a second, hold it. You're home first, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And then he came home?
He came home while I was packing my belongings.
How did the pizza get into the microwave?
The pizza was already there, Your Honor.
Pizza was in the house already, and he was taking it out to heat it up?
Yes.
So he heated up the pizza in the microwave. Go ahead.
And then we continued arguing, and that's when he intentionally threw the pizza at my face.
How did he do that?
He had the pizza in his hand, and he threw it.
And it hit your face, and it burned your face?
Yes.
Okay. So he left the bar, Amy, to get away from the argument and was walking home. So what I want to know is how the argument continued.
We were arguing about financial problems.
How did it start? Who said what to whom?
I believe it was I who had said something in regards to the financial.
That sounds right. So what did you say financial?
Basically that I do a lot for him and he doesn't respect me. You know, basically trying to show him that why would I cheat on him when I'm going grocery shopping, all the bills are in my name.
So you wanted to continue the discussion?
Yes.
You weren't
I
just
wasn't trying to argue.
You wanted to continue the discussion, not just pack up and leave, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and he's sitting there. He's not saying a word to you.
No, he was saying things.
Not before you approached him to start the discussion again, right? I'm just figuring out what's happening here, Amy.
Okay, that's correct.
Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making any excuses for him if he hurt you. I want you to get real with what was happening that night. What was happening that night was you weren't letting it go. Because if you're assaulted and you call your sister because you were so upset and your sister comes to get you in the car, then you say to her, do me a favor, follow me to Mom's house because I'm going to stay there. Tomorrow I'll get the police and go over and pick up my stuff. But if you want to go back and continue the discussion with him, and you knew he was going home because he said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to be involved with you anymore. I'm walking home to cool off. So you knew he was going home and you followed him home.
No, because I figured that I would get there quicker than he would and have my stuff already packed and ready to leave.
So let's see what we have. We have a timeline here. You call your sister on the phone. She has to get out to the parking lot, get into her car, start the car, come and pick you up. A couple of minutes. Then you said she helped clean you up because you were bleeding. Let's say that took another 10 minutes. So now you got 5 minutes before he's going to be home.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you go home anyway. So you expected him to be home. There's no question in my mind, so don't tell me you didn't expect him to be home yet. You expected him to be home, and you wanted to continue the discussion because you weren't ready to let it go.
Because I didn't want to be accused of something that I would never do.
What difference does it make? Somebody hits you in the face, as you allege he hit you in the face. Who cares whether he accuses you of being Matahari? What difference does it make? You want to get away from him.
Yes.
You don't go back into a situation where there's been, according to you, violence, and start the discussion all over again by telling him, why would I want to do something bad to you? I cook for you, I clean for you, I work for you, I do everything else for you. That's what you were telling him, right?
Yes, why would you do this to me? Basically, that's what I was trying to say, Your Honor.
What difference does it make?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How old are you?
27.
27. I'm a few years older than you are.
You don't look
and
it.
You're very, very sweet, Mr. Wilson. It's not going to help you any.
And later today,
you could have been married to this warped thinking, allowed children to reproduce with this warped thinking. So I want you to consider yourself very lucky.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Dumslowski says ex-boyfriend Brian Wilson owes for burning her face with a slice of pizza. Brian says the argument started when he saw Amy dancing with another man.
Now the ball is in your court, Mr. Wilson. Don't smile at me, because let me explain something to you. How old are you?
27.
27. I'm a few years older than you are.
You don't look
and
it.
You're very, very sweet, Mr. Wilson. It's not going to help you any. And you know how long I've been eating pizza? A lot longer than you have. I never knew a pizza to fly off a plate and hit somebody in the face. How many flying pizzas did you know in your years? Never.
0.
We never knew a flying pizza. So with that in mind, Mr. Wilson, let's go back to, you're in the bar with Miss Amy.
Right.
Both had a couple of beers. Now.
I saw her dancing with somebody on the dance floor. I didn't want to stand for it, so I left the bar.
So you saw her dancing with somebody?
Right. Supposedly it was just a friend, but, you know, I don't know that friend, so it makes me feel uncomfortable. So I left the bar. I'm walking down the street. She comes running up behind me, you know, hit me, trying to pull on my shirt. She actually ripped the shirt that I had underneath my button-up shirt.
Well, tell me what she said to you as she was pulling on your shirt.
What the is my problem? Why are you leaving? You know, so as I'm walking home, she's still pulling at me, you know, yelling, you know, because when she drinks and is under the influence of other drugs, you know, she's a live wire.
Was she under the influence of other drugs?
I say so.
What other drug?
Marijuana.
Did you see her smoking marijuana that day?
Yeah.
Were you smoking marijuana
No.
that day? But she was?
Right.
Okay, keep going.
So as we continue to the house, finally, you know, she gave up. You know, after my shirt's ripped, she goes back to the car.
So you don't know anything about hitting her in the face?
I didn't. She might have caught like some buttons from trying to pull on my shirt and me just defending myself to, you know, just so I can walk home and avoid the whole situation, because we could have fought if we really wanted to fight in the bar.
Okay.
You know, but that's the whole reason why I walked home, so I didn't have to do that.
Go ahead.
So then once we get home, I'm already home and sitting in the living room. She comes in and it continues again. She's not trying to talk it out or anything like that. She's yelling. You know, a little pushing, you know, I got the pizza in my hand.
Now let's go through this slowly.
No problem.
Little pushing. How did the pushing get started?
Defense pushing. Like defense pushing, you know. When she talks to you here. She don't talk to you from a distance. You
so
know,
you're pushing her away from you.
Right, as I'm walking from the kitchen to the living room, back and forth. So finally I had the plate in my hand, and, you know, she's trying to, you know, tangle with me, and it accidentally hit her in the face.
I assume you felt very sorry when you found out she had
Right.
been burned.
I drove her to the hospital the next day.
Is that right?
No. I called him when he was at work, and I said, I need to go to the hospital. And he said, well, come pick me up from work, and we can go to the hospital.
Had you stayed at your mother's that night?
Yes.
Who else lives in your mother's house?
My mom, my stepbrother, and my stepfather.
They couldn't take you to the hospital?
No, I was going to go by myself, and he said, I'll go with you, because he felt bad.
Why would you want the person who assaulted you to go with you to the hospital?
He said he would go with me.
And when you got to the hospital, what happened?
They looked at it. They said it looked really bad. They referred me to a plastic surgeon.
Did he just take you to the hospital and take you back to your mother's house?
I was driving, so I took him back to his house. We went and got the prescription filled.
So first you went and got the prescription filled?
Yes.
And then you drove him back to his house?
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you got back to your house?
Nothing. Everything was ordinary. It was just an ordinary day, watching TV, hanging out.
The two of you?
Yeah, making plans for the weekend.
What plans were you making for the weekend, Amy?
We weren't making plans for the weekend.
What were you doing that afternoon?
We were just talking, and he was telling me how sorry he was and that he would pay my bill for me, my hospital bill.
That takes 2 seconds. How long were you there?
Probably like an hour, 2 hours, not even.
She was there all day. Because I remember, because she had to put the ointment in my bathroom, and she had to put it on. So she even slept over.
She did?
Right. She had to put the ointment on at my house and get salt water and pour it on the burn, things like that. And she did that all at my house.
Amy, do you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
I have my medical bill right here.
How much was the medical bill?
$377.38.
How much do you owe on it?
The full amount, I haven't paid it because he said he was going to pay it.
Well, I think he should pay it. But you're suing him for $5,000.
Pain and suffering. Every time I look at I'm going to need plastic surgery. I haven't even went to the plastic surgeon and even got an amount estimated.
Well, then I can't help you with that, my dear. I can't help you with something that is speculative. What I don't understand is, if someone is frightened that someone is abusive and assaultive, they don't call them the next day to go to the hospital. They don't have them take them for the prescription when they have a sister and a mother and a stepfather and a brother and alternatives. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand that.
Good.
I was just calling him to tell him that I needed to go to the hospital, how severe it really was. That's the only reason why I called him, and he said, I'll go with you.
You don't call.
And
the only call you make is to the police. Did you do that?
No, because he has a son. I didn't want anything to happen.
Amy, he's going to pay your medical bill. You have a $377 medical bill. Your pain and suffering you're going to have to live with. I assume that you're not together anymore. Is that right?
Not at all.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $377. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Obviously, yeah, he did push me into a tree.
Oh, that's not true.
I didn't fall into a tree.
She was drunk.
I wasn't drunk. 2 beers, come on.
Slipped and fell, I guess.
You don't hurt the people that you love.
Eat pizza, don't throw it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Youngman versus Caffey. Step forward, please.
22-year-old emergency medical technician Thomas Youngman is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old bank teller Jacqueline Caffey, for the balance on a car and bank overdraft fees. Jacqueline claims Thomas paid off the car note without consulting her.
Mr. Youngman, Miss Caffey was your girlfriend for a while, and in 2003, according to your complaint, you were foolish enough to co-sign for a car loan for her.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you co-signed for the loan, it was her car. The car was titled in your name, is that right?
Yes.
And she agreed to make the payments on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did make the payments on the car until when?
Until the car got totaled. There was one last payment to make after the insurance paid it off.
And how much was that one last payment?
$550.
Your complaint is that Miss Caffrey decided not to make the last payment. You had already broken up at this point. And
Correct.
how long had you been apart?
We'd been apart for almost a year and a month.
And you knew nothing about the car because it was her car and she was making the payments.
Correct.
After she totaled the car and stopped making the payments, they came after you because you were the co-signer on the car, and they took the money out of your bank account. How much did they take out?
$550.20-something.
Then can you explain why you're suing her for $2,000?
Because there were some late fees acquired with that, in the negative balance fees.
Okay.
And
how much were the negative balance fees?
$100.
Anything else?
My credit was damaged. So I figured the rest of it could be for that.
Okay. Now, Ms. Caffrey, you say you've paid enough, and he co-signed for the car, and therefore it was his responsibility. I'd like you to explain that to me.
He co-signed for it. I have the proof of it.
There's no question he co-signed for it.
He co-signed for a car loan, and I made every single payment. This was a $13,000 loan, and he paid $500, in late fees, $650. And he drove the car, too, when we were together.
You mean in 2003?
Yes.
So what you're saying is he drove the car in 2003, and therefore it was his responsibility to make the last payment.
I don't owe him anything. He paid.
Would you do me a favor and answer my question?
Yes.
I'll decide whether you owe him something or not. I'm trying to figure out your defense. Tell me what your defense is.
I do not owe him because he...
That's a conclusion. That's a legal conclusion, that you do not owe him. So far, we have the following set of facts stipulated. He agreed to co-sign a loan on your promise that you would make the payments on the car. That fact is buttressed by the fact that you did, in fact, make payments on the car consistently, even after the two of you were no longer together. You made the payments on the car consistently, which supports his statement that you promised to make the payments until you totaled the car. Then you stopped. There was still a payment owing, $550. Now, I'd like your defense as to why you do not owe that $550.
I had called the bank over and over and tried to figure out how much I owed, and by the time I figured out how much was owed, because they kept telling me different numbers of how much was owed, and then she said, we'll just hold off on the payment and we'll get back to you on it. So when I finally got the letter in the mail that I owed $550, he had already paid it. I didn't ask him to pay it. He had already chosen himself to go ahead and pay it.
They took it out of his bank account.
That's not what... When I asked her and he told me that they froze his account, that never happened.
I want to tell you something. Mr. Youngman?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to get your money.
Okay.
You are also a very, very fortunate man. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Really lucky. You could have been married to this warped thinking, allowed children to reproduce with this warped thinking. So I want you to consider yourself very lucky. Okay?
Thank you.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Called the bank, and they said that she had not made the payment, therefore they're freezing my account.
There was never any evidence of his bank account being frozen.
She told me that it was uninsured and that she was at fault.
I just don't even want to deal with it anymore.
911 operator Sharon Kennedy is suing her ex-boyfriend, Michael Estepellin, for the cost of a cruise and for making unauthorized charges on her credit card.
It's number 148 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Estepellin. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Ms. Kennedy, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were dating.
Yes.
And you claim that he owes you some money for a cruise that you took together and also for credit card charges that he made on your credit card.
Yes.
Mr. Estepellin says that you were just friends, that the cruise was your treat, and that it was very nice of you as a friend to allow him to charge things on your credit card, but there was never an agreement for him to pay you back. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
40 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a race car official and a mechanic.
Are you married?
And no longer.
You have children?
One.
Who does that child live with?
Her mother.
And who do you live with?
My father.
How long have you lived with your father?
6 months.
Do you pay him rent?
Yes.
How much rent do you pay him?
Not enough. About $100.
When did you meet Miss Kennedy?
When we were about 15 years old.
And did there come a time when you and Miss Kennedy started to have a relationship that was more than just friendly?
When we were 16.
More recently, sir, so that we can come into this millennium. You went on a cruise together.
Yes, we did.
And when was that cruise?
Early this year, January or February, I believe.
Had you been going out with her socially prior to that?
She had come to California from Arizona occasionally, and when she did, we would go out to dinner.
Just dinner?
Dinner and a movie.
Nothing more intimate than that?
No, ma'am.
When you went on the cruise, did you have one stateroom or two?
We had one.
Did you have one bed or two?
We had one.
And did you sleep on the floor or in the bed?
On the bed.
And what about Miss Kennedy?
On the bed.
How long was the cruise?
4 days.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you going on the cruise.
We had been talking one time. She came to California out to dinner. She was talking about vacations, that she had been wanting to take a vacation since she had been recently divorced. The next thing I had found out about the cruise was when she emailed me that she had booked a cruise, and she picked the dates around my racing schedule when I had an off weekend. So she had already planned it, booked it, and sent me the information.
No. In December, when I picked Michael up from being in jail for 30 days, we had discussed...
What was he in jail for?
Because he failed to finish his anger management classes from a domestic violence issue on his wife.
That should have been your first clue.
I know. I know.
Go ahead.
So when he got out of jail, we went to the motel, and we discussed going on vacation. And I said, okay, I'll do some research on it. And when I met him again 2 weeks later when I went to California, I brought him all the information, and he agreed to pay half of the cruise. We booked the cruise for January 17th.
When was he supposed to pay for it?
After racing season started, which was the end of January.
And he never paid for it?
Correct.
When did you make him a card holder on your credit card?
After March, when we both told each other that we loved each other.
March?
Yes.
Some 2 months after he failed to pay you for the cruise?
Correct. But I had not asked him for the cruise money yet.
You just told me he was supposed to pay you for it when racing season started, which was a month later, and he didn't pay you.
Correct.
And if he didn't pay you, you should have had a clue that this wasn't somebody that you wanted to extend any further credit to.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I'm not interested in the cruise anymore.
Okay.
Now I'm interested in the credit card.
Okay. After Michael and I told each other that we loved each other on March 8th, he had been kicked out of his grandmother's house in February.
Why was he kicked out in February?
That I don't know the specifics. All I know is that she was very upset with him. It was some issue in the kitchen, that she had just cleaned the kitchen, and he was not wanting to clean it up and got all over her, and it was not a pretty sight. So she told him he had to...
Should have finished that anger management course.
Correct. So then in March, he started living at a motel, and he told me that for racing, he would start traveling. So we agreed to put him as an authorized user on my American Express card. He would only use it for necessary items such as gas and lodging. And within a 1 month period, he had gone to Shoe City numerous times, Motherhood Maternity, and I sure as heck wasn't pregnant, Victoria's Secret. So he was obviously romancing another woman.
So what happened when you got the first bill?
When I found out, I went online and checked the amount that was being charged so far. And I called Michael on April 9th, and I asked him what happened. He told me that someone had broken into his motel room and stolen the numbers because he still had the card. So like a fool, I believed him. And I had American Express cancel out that first card, send him a second card. Same thing happened. Room was miraculously broken again, and more charges started happening. So by the time the third card got to him, American Express had suspended the account, and I wasn't even allowed to use it because the charges were up to $11,000. Michael told me, just dispute all the charges. And I told him, I can't dispute the charges if they're legitimate charges.
Well, she had told me that she was going to give me a card to help me on the road, and that's what I had used it for. And yes, I had charged it, and yes, I did go to Victoria's Secrets, because by that time I had met somebody else who I did like, and was planning to have a future with. I had told her that the whole time that we were, friends, and that we were always just friends.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get back to the credit card, sir. So what you're telling me is that when she questioned you about these charges, you told her that somebody had used the card in an unauthorized fashion initially.
No, ma'am. What I said is that she
Look
told
at me.
Yes, she told me.
No, here.
I am here. She told me that there's numerous charges on them, and she says, "Well, how could there be that many charges?" I said, "I have no idea. Maybe the only way is if somebody got the numbers from my card. That'd be the only other way that could happen."
You're a dishonest man.
I don't believe so, ma'am.
You are a thoroughly and totally dishonest man. Because if you had said to Miss Kennedy the first time around, you got me. I charged things because I originally said I was just going to charge things on the road, which is what you told me.
Eventually.
I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
You said I'm going to charge things on the road, motel, meals, that sort of thing. And then you chose, because you met somebody else, to charge things on the credit card that she questioned. and you knew that if you said to her, I met somebody else, and yes, I did charge some things for that other person, she would have canceled the card. You chose not to do that, and after you got the second card, you did the same thing. You charged things for your new girlfriend. So when I say to you that you are a dishonest person, I know from whence I speak. You are a dishonest and dishonorable person.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a hustler.
And later today,
Sir, I wouldn't use her mural.
I did not use her mural.
Just a second, you did.
No, ma'am.
But, Ms. Diaz, don't bother me. I think you ought to find a different line of work, by the way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Kennedy says her ex-boyfriend, Michael Estepellin, made unauthorized charges on her credit card. Sharon claims Michael lied about the card getting stolen.
What were the costs that he put on your credit card?
The charges that I did not dispute in a 30-day period was $3,675.84.
Can I see those, please?
The highlight ones on the copy are the ones that we did not dispute. And I also have a
You
copy...
did not dispute them because he made them.
Correct. I have a copy of the cell phone bill that we also went on the family plan with.
Shh, I don't care about the cell phone. He's a hustler.
Yes.
Judge him for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She seems to think I'm a dishonest hustler. That's fine. That's her opinion.
Michael was in jail again in May, and I called his cell phone, and his girlfriend answered.
She finally got it through her head that we were going to be nothing but just friends.
I was totally shocked. I could not believe how much of a charmer he was and how good a liar he really was.
Now she's just she's a scorned woman who didn't get away.
The money is just secondary to what Michael and I had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Diaz versus Altunia. Step forward, please.
Artist Marianne, 24-year-old Diana Hayes, is suing the father of her child, Jason Cheney, for the value of a '92 Honda Civic and for money she spent on improving the vehicle.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Cheney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
How old are you, Miss Hayes?
I'm 24.
How many children do you have?
Just one.
What do you do for a living?
I bartend.
Do you have any other source of income other than from your bartending?
No.
Ever receive any supplements from the state?
Right now I get medical for my child, and I do receive food assistance too.
Your complaint is that a little over a year ago, you made an arrangement with Mr. Cheney, who is the father of your daughter, that in lieu of child support, he would furnish you with a car.
Right.
The car would remain in his name until it was paid off, and he would pay $200 a month towards the car instead of giving you money for child support.
Correct.
And that was just fine for a year, and then car was taken from the front of your house. You thought it was Mr. Cheney who took that car. You reported it stolen to the police. That car was subsequently found. Mr. Cheney decided, I don't want this aggravation. I'd rather give her the child support. So he turned the car in. According to him, he's now sending you $200 a month in child support. So he doesn't want to be bothered with the car business anymore. And you want the value of the car, and you say that you put in a substantial amount of money into the car.
Correct.
Things like rims.
Actually, the rims and tires on the car, were not on it when it was stolen, so that wouldn't be part of it, but the stereo system and other
Window
things on the car.
tints.
Yeah.
Why did you need window tints on the car?
Because it was a nice new car, and I had it, and with my income tax return, I put some money into my car.
You're a single mother raising a child on tips and wages from being a bartender. And are you telling me that you took that money and instead of putting it in a college fund for your daughter, you tinted the windows on your car and
I
you
sure did.
upgraded the stereo? You sure did. Your priorities are a little screwed up.
At that time, I wasn't receiving any assistance, and I was doing just fine.
I don't care whether you were receiving any assistance or not. How much money do you have put away for your daughter for college?
None.
And when you receive Medicaid and when you receive food stamps, you're receiving welfare. And before I would put money into tinting my windows in my car, I would put money towards my child's future. That's what a grown-up does. I just want to mention that, madam, because I was actually appalled at that piece of your complaint when you say you want that money back from him because he repossessed the car and sold it after you had put in this window tints and stereo system and fancy rims on the car. And so he owes you $4,000. Now, Mr. Cheney.
Yes.
Why did you take the car back?
I didn't take the car back. It was reported stolen. I found it 2 blocks from her house, sitting in an apartment complex, which I did some checking around and I got proof that the car was there and that she's been in and out of those apartment complexes many times while it was there. It was given back to me by a police officer.
Because the car was in your name?
The car was in my name. I took it back to the car lot because I didn't want no problems. She's trying to put me in jail all the time. I didn't want no problems with it.
Fine. You used the car for a year?
I did. If I wanted to put him in jail, Your Honor, he would be in prison right now.
You used the car for a year?
I did.
How much do you think that it would cost if you leased a car for a year?
I have no idea.
How much is he paying you now in child support?
He has paid me $200 for the last 2 months, but I'm currently
Who is this
filing.
person?
This is my girlfriend.
Tell her to keep her mouth shut, because you two have a child together, and she's not supposed to exacerbate any bad feeling that may exist between the two of you.
She's been the communicator between the both of us.
Which is making it worse.
In court, she has nothing to say, and she should have as little to say as possible, because that's not going to be a good thing. You two have to learn how to get along together, because you made a child together.
There is a 2-year restraining order. I had no permission whatsoever to talk to this female for 2 years. She is the communicator by court.
He was talking to me up until I don't know what happened, and she decided that she didn't want that anymore, and now she's been the communicator, and she makes things up between the two of us and causes more
Very bad. That's very unfortunate. Who got a restraining order against whom?
The state actually pressed it for a no-contact order because of a domestic violence that we had.
Who supervises visitation?
No one supervises visitation. She was picking up for a while our daughter and bringing him to him for the weekend, and then we would meet and I'd pick her up.
Oh,
he stopped seeing her about 8 months ago, though.
No, I didn't stop seeing her.
Or not 8 months ago.
She quit letting me see her. She said, "You're not seeing your child again until we're done with court." This court right here today. First it was, "You better start paying me payments." Pay her payments. Nope, you can't have her. Now we're going to court. Oh, no, not till court's over. So I'm paying. I haven't even seen my child in like 4 months.
Do you have an order of visitation?
I don't think so.
Well, go and get one. If you don't have an order of visitation, then you see your child whenever she says you can. If you have an order of visitation, sir, that's fixed by a court, you will see your child whenever the court tells you you can see your child. Do you understand the difference?
Yes, I do.
Well, then you got to get off your duff and go into court and file for an order of visitation.
Well, I was trying to do it out of court.
Well, that's stupid.
Your Honor, I've never told him he couldn't see his daughter.
Just a second. That's stupid.
That's stupid.
You pick yourself up and you go to the local domestic relations court or the family court, wherever you live, and you file a petition to see your child, whatever. And she just says, I told him he could see her whenever.
She don't
Listen
bring her,
to me.
then I can't see her.
Listen to me. That's not up to her. Go. If somebody told me I couldn't see my child, I wouldn't wait 4 months to go to court. She knew how to go to court to get an order of support, right?
Right.
You do have an order of support.
Yes, we do.
$200.
That's not court ordered.
It's not court ordered.
That's not. I'm in the process right now of getting back into the court ordered amount, which is $280 a month.
It's ordered that I pay $280 a month already. We had a verbal agreement outside of it to pay $200 a month. So
No, to pay
For the car.
to pay for the car.
Now I'm in the process of getting the $280 a month again.
Very good. So you'll get your $280 a month. Good. I don't know what you want.
What I want basically is I put all this money into this car.
That was stupid.
It was a
That
bad
was
decision.
stupid.
Bad
Who told
decision.
you? Who told you? Listen to me. Who told you to tint the wheels, buy rims, buy a stereo, tint the whatever? What did I say? Tint the rims?
You said tint the wheels, but
Tint the wheels. Whatever you do, madam, that's your prerogative. I can really understand why he doesn't want to have anything to do with you other than paying child support and picking up the child, because clearly you don't like each other. You don't get that money back.
Have you seen the contract?
What? I don't care. Listen to me.
He agrees in the contract to pay me the money that he owes me if the contract was ever broken, that I had into the car. He agreed to that. So
she willingly gave up the car by reporting it stolen. pretty much
I had to report it stolen. It was stolen from my
pretty
house.
much set me up
If I wanted to
because
send him to prison, he tried to kill
I
me.
have
I have police
witnesses
reports. I could have.
saying that she was.
Then I have a question for you, Miss Hayes, because it always strikes me that women can be so foolish. If he tried to kill you, and if you are afraid of him.
I'm not afraid of him.
Well, I would be afraid of somebody who tried to kill me, Miss Hayes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's your daughter's money.
Okay, well, my daughter needs me to feed her and put her through.
Right.
Right, so I have to get to and from school or work, right?
Right.
Okay, so...
But in a car that doesn't have tinted windows.
And later today,
February, she decided that she was going to have some plastic surgery done. Had a cabaret party, spent over $2,000 to have this party, and I still didn't get my money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Hayes says the father of her child, Jason Cheney, owes for illegally repossessing her car. Diana says Jason's actions are hurting their daughter.
Miss Hayes, I would be afraid of anybody who tried to kill me, especially someone with whom I had had a relationship. I don't need you for anything.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't put myself in a position where I had any kind of business relationship with them. Listen to me, any kind of business relationship with them. There has to be a reason for that. Now, one of the reasons for that might be, you see, if he's giving you $280 a month, you could purchase your own car. However, if he's giving you $280 a month, the other assistance that you might be getting from the state, including the Medicaid and the food stamps, would be taken away. So, right?
Yes,
Yes,
no problem
sure.
with that.
So listen to me. So this way, you got the Medicaid, you got the food stamps, and you got your car. So if you think about it...
That was reported. That was part of my income. His $200 a month toward my car was part of my income. Reported. It still wasn't enough. So
Interesting. So then I don't understand why somebody who was so fearful of somebody's bad temper...
He wasn't even making the payments.
Listen to me. I don't understand why someone who was so fearful of somebody's bad temper would enter into any kind of business relationship.
I was
without
already
anything... What?
I was already into it before then. I was already into this. I was already into this agreement. This was already going on before.
Then say, here's your car back.
I was
don't
already
want it.
into this
Listen
car
to
this
me.
much money.
Here's your car back. I don't want your car. I want you to pay me $280 a month. You pay it through the court. You come and visit every other week or every week, just as the court is going to tell you to do. And that's what we do. You don't have a convoluted business arrangement. In any event, I don't see where he owes you $4,000, Miss Hayes.
To rent a car.
What?
I no longer have use of a car that I put $4,000 into. I no longer have use of this car. Do you pay $4,000 to rent a car? No, you paid $4,000 to buy a car, not rent a car. Am I wrong?
She got her use out of
Listen
the car.
to me,
I used the car for a little over a year. It was a good car. I would have drove it for
Listen
5
to
more
me, madam.
years. I bought that car.
He doesn't want any part of you, and you don't want any part of him. Now take the money that he's giving you and go and put it towards a car, which is exactly what you did before.
She already did.
I am doing now.
Perfect. Did you buy a car?
I'm paying.
You're paying it off, which is exactly what you were doing before. You were paying it off with his money.
No, my money. My child support money.
No.
My money.
No, that's not your money. That's your daughter's money.
Okay, well, my daughter needs me to feed her and put her through.
Right.
Right, so I have to get to and from school or work, right?
Right.
Okay, so...
But in a car that doesn't have tinted windows. Goodbye, Miss Hayes.
Parties are excused when they step out.
He tried to kill me. I have police reports.
We got into domestic violence and we pushed each other around. That's about it.
He threatened me in the police report that if I said anything, then he would take my car away.
She reported stolen, tried to get me in trouble. It backfired in her face.
She keeps trying to get him in trouble. She can't handle the fact that they're no longer together.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Miller. Step forward.
Lori Anderson is suing her former co-worker, Tynesha Miller, for unpaid loans to pay her rent and bills. Lori says instead of paying her back, Tynesha had plastic surgery.
Miss Anderson, Miss Miller was a former friend of yours.
Yes.
And a co-worker.
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made 2 loans to her?
Yes.
And she hasn't paid you back. And Miss Miller says you were a real nice gal, you're a good-natured person, and you made gifts to her at a time when she needed money. That's her defense. Is that right?
Yes.
How long, Miss Miller, had you been friendly with Miss Anderson?
Probably 2 weeks after she started working.
And when was that?
December, January, I'm not exactly sure.
December of '03.
And what kind of business are you in?
I worked at a surgery center. I did the scheduling there.
And you?
I'm the surgery triage coordinator.
And when was the first loan that you made, Miss Anderson?
It was on April 14th, 2004.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that loan, Miss Miller. Or that money that she gave you.
Okay. I was on the phone, and she overheard the conversation, and it was...
Well, what was the conversation about?
My conversation was about my gas had got turned off, and she overheard the conversation.
Why was your gas turned off? For non-payment of the bill?
Yes.
How much do you make a year?
I believe it's like $33,000.
So what were you spending your money on?
My children and paying my bills.
How many children do you have?
4.
Who else lives in your home?
Just the children and myself.
Where's their father?
I guess he's around.
Does he pay you support?
We only get a check maybe once a year when he files his taxes, and that's it.
Your Honor, if I can just interrupt, there are 4 different fathers.
Lori Anderson says former co-worker Tynesha Miller owes for a series of unpaid loans. Lori says Tynesha played on her sympathy.
Okay, so your gas was being shut off.
And she volunteered that.
Well, tell me what she said.
Well, she came to me and said, I'm your friend. You know, I love you and your children. I want to help. At which point in time, I told her no. That was it was a lot of money, and the gas bill was high, $780. So she was like, let me do this. This is something that I want to do. I can't go home and go to sleep tonight knowing that your gas is cut off. It's cold and...
Okay. Very nice lady. Nice lady.
Right.
When was the next time you took money from Miss Anderson?
I believe it was 04.
September of 04.
Had she paid you any of this $780 back?
No, ma'am. And in the midst of this time, there was also 2 other occasions I had given Miss Miller money in the amount of $80 both times.
Did she say she would pay you back?
Yes, she did.
That
It was always in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks would come in the next 2 weeks.
What was the money for in September?
It was for her rent, Your Honor. She didn't pay her rent. She was going to be evicted from her apartment, and I love her children. We were friends. I trusted her. Even though she hadn't paid me the $780, I still couldn't go home in good conscience knowing that she was going to be evicted from her apartment. So I did write her a check in the amount of $893, which she did cash.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
What arrangements did you have with her for repayment of all this money?
Just, I will pay you back in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. After the check in September, we were discussing it. She said, Lori, I know I haven't paid you back the money. I'm going to get, a pretty good income tax check this year, and I'll pay you back with the income tax check. And I said, that's fine, Tanisha. So in February, she decided that she was going to have some plastic surgery done. Had a cabaret party, spent over $2,000 to have this party, and I still didn't get my money.
Just a second. What kind of cabaret party?
It's just a cabaret that you throw and you raise money.
For what?
People throw cabarets and they raise money just for whatever reason.
What were you raising?
I was going to have cosmetic surgery.
Why didn't you give her back the money?
She didn't want the money. I offered. That's what she's leaving out. I have offered, and she denied. I'm not going to take your money. I told
When did you offer her the money?
Around income tax time.
You mean after this cabaret party?
No, the cabaret came after income tax time. So I offered the money before the cabaret.
Your Honor, she offered to write me a $500 check.
And what did you say?
And I'm like, okay. And the day progressed, no check. And the week progressed, no check. And then we stopped speaking. I was hanging around with some people she didn't like. We stopped speaking. I asked her for the money. She said, you'll have your money by Tuesday. Well, Tuesday's come and gone, about 45 Tuesdays from then, and I still haven't got my money. And then, Your Honor, to top it off, my birthday, we'd made plans to go out on my birthday, which was fine. She was going to pay for it, pay for my birthday cake. I'm like,
when was this?
May 13th is my birthday.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were still speaking?
We were still speaking. We were still co-workers. Yes, we did. We worked very closely together. I was still trying to be a friend, be the kind of person that I needed to be. And on my birthday, she's like, I'm going to order you a cake. We're going to go out. I'm going to pay for it. I'm like, you don't have to pay for my cake. I can pay for my cake. So the day before my birthday, she came to me and she said, Lori, I don't have the money to pay for your birthday cake. Can I borrow the money from you? So me, being the person I am, I gave her the money for my birthday cake. The next day, she brought my birthday cake to work. Come to find out, one of our other coworkers had also given her the money for my birthday cake. To top it off, my husband and I paid for her dinner that night also.
I don't see anything funny about it.
She's making it sound worse than what it really is.
No,
this is the type of person.
Just a minute, it sounds pretty bad to me. You know, a lady who's earning $33,000 a year and getting some other support for her children from their father, whether it's from income tax return from one father and some other sporadic money from another father. Raising 4 kids is expensive, but when you have a friend who is willing to help you over some rough spots, I think that that's terrific. And I would be much more sympathetic with you in your position as a single mother of 4 children if you didn't spend $2,000 to have a cabaret party, if you had a little more priority about what you were going to do with your money. Do you understand what I'm saying, Miss Miller?
Yes, I do.
Because you're supposed to act mature if you have 4 children. You're supposed to be mature if you have 4 children. You're not supposed to be foolish. You're not supposed to say, well, maybe I'll get, you know, I don't know what kind of cosmetic surgery you wanted. You want bigger chest, little chest, bigger behind, smaller behind. Who knows? Who cares? First, you take care of your responsibility. And first, you take care of your debts. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,673. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I offered her the money, and she didn't want it. So, I mean, I'm not going to force somebody to take something that they claiming that they don't want.
Well, she did try to pay me back. She tried to write me a check for $500, and I never got it.
Up until the day she decided to leave the job, I assumed we were friends. But after today, I see that we're not.
You just don't loan your friends money. I'm hoping that we can eventually be friends again because I love Tanisha, I love her children. So I'm hoping that it'll blow over and we can become friends.
Rebecca Castillo is suing her former lover, 21-year-old Manuel Gonzalez, for wrecking her car while driving drunk. Manuel claims he was never behind the wheel.
Yeah, this is case number 203 on the calendar in the matter of Castillo versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Okay, Miss Castillo, it is your claim that Mr. Gonzalez, who was a friend of yours, somehow got hold of your car and caused damage on 3 separate occasions in one night.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez says that you were so drunk that night that you don't remember that you were driving and you caused the damage to your own car.
Not true.
Right?
Right.
And you are just friends?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I was messing
I don't want to guess
for a
what
while.
I'm going to say anything. I'm asking you, are you just friends or are you more than friends?
Yes, we were just friends.
Not intimate?
Yes, we were intimate a couple times.
Well, Bird is my friend. We have never been intimate. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand the difference? How old are you?
21.
How old are you?
35.
All right. So that's a little bit of a difference. Okay, so you were intimate friends. That's a new category of friends. There are people who are intimate, then there were friends, and then somewhere in the middle there are intimate friends. You are one of those. When did this assault on your car take place?
June 5th.
Okay. And what were you doing out with Mr. Gonzalez?
Actually, I was home when he called me and asked me to give him and his friend Mike a ride home. And I went.
Why did they need a ride home?
I didn't ask.
And you said, fine, I'll come and pick you up and give you a ride home.
Sure.
Keep going.
When I got to the restaurant, the establishment, he was there with 3 other gentlemen. They were there eating and drinking, and I ordered a margarita, and we were there for about an hour and a half.
How many margaritas did you have?
Just 1, Your Honor. And then from there, they wanted to take off, and we went to a billiards place where we were there only a half hour. I played billiards with one of the other gentlemen that was there with them. They wanted to leave. We went to another local establishment, a local bar.
So you were playing chauffeur that night?
Pretty much.
So the reason for the phone call was you guys wanted to drink and you needed somebody to chauffeur you around.
Yes.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her?
I asked her for a ride because we had all been drinking.
Well, a ride to take you home is one thing. A ride to schlep you from one place to another so you continue to drink is something entirely different.
Oh, well, we planned on going home. But when she got there, she started drinking with us, and we said, well, you feel like going somewhere else? She said, yeah, so we went.
Keep going, Miss Castillo.
When we left that establishment, we dropped off his other friend, the one that they went in a car with, to his car, to his vehicle, and from there I went to a local gas station in that same shopping center. When I went there, I got off, left the keys in the ignition, paid gas to the pump where I was parked at. When I came out, my car was gone. I panicked. I was looking around the parking lot, looking to see where they were. I gave them time. I'm thinking maybe it's a practical joke. Maybe they're out there looking at me, freaking out. I gave them about 15, 20 minutes, and at that point, I had dialed 911 to report the car stolen. When I looked up, He was driving back in the car with his friend still in the car. I was yelling at him. He refused to get out of the driver's side and said he was going to drive himself and his friends home. Said, fine. I pumped the gas in my car, got in the passenger side, and he drove his first friend home. He drove recklessly to the point where that friend didn't even wait till the car came to a complete stop. He literally jumped out of the car before he stopped the car in motion. Okay, and he tells me that's what you get for hanging out with a 21-year-old. He yells that through the window.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. He speeds off, and I'm yelling and telling him to stop, get out of the car. He doesn't get off the car. Drives down a road where there's construction on both sides of the road. There's bolted cones with concrete dividers on both sides of the road. He's driving recklessly. He's hitting these cones. I counted 8. When I seen him headed towards the concrete divider, I literally had to put my hand on the steering wheel to avoid a real major crash. When I did that, he still didn't stop. He had all green lights for whatever reason. We drove to his house. We go into his house. I told him I wanted some resolve. I wanted something in writing. He tells me to go wait.
Just a second. You went into his house. And what happened when you got into his house?
We were talking.
Look at me. Now here, you see, I can tell when somebody is not giving me the accurate story. So don't start embellishing now what you think you want to tell me. What happened when you went into his house?
We talked. I told him I wanted...
What did you say to him?
I told him I wanted something in writing. I asked him, how are we going to handle the situation?
What situation?
About him hitting the car. I hadn't seen the damages to the car yet. I knew he was hitting the pylons, and I knew he had already hit, there was some damage, but I hadn't actually inspected the car at this point. So then he brushes me off, goes into the back room, talks to his friend Mike, then he tells me to wait for him in my car outside, and we'll talk some more. So there I go. I walked outside of the house, went into the car, sat in my car, and at this point I see him getting in Mike's car, and they're driving away. So I turned on my car, I followed them to an apartment complex, all the way across town. At this point, I'm looking for my cell phone, which I couldn't find, somewhere on the floor.
Because you're drunk?
That's not true. And when we got there, I followed them to a dead end, and I had to back up. I backed up so that they can straighten out. They were there in the car for about 5 minutes, and then Mr. Gonzalez gets off the car, comes towards my car. In the meantime, his friend Mike drives off, tells me to move over so we could talk. Then he's telling me that he had no reason to bow down to me like I was some princess, that that's the reason why he doesn't have a valid license, because he can't drive. And he puts the car in reverse, backs it into the wall, then he drives off.
So you let him get into the driver's side of the car, according to you, and you moved over. I assume you have a bench seat in the front?
It's not a bench seat, no.
What is
Two
it?
separate seats.
It's 2 separate seats. So you had to crawl over, and where's the whatever?
It's right there in the center.
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
Yeah.
So you had to sort of get your leg over there, and he opened up the driver's side, unless you got out of the driver's side and walked around to the passenger side. So you scooted over somehow. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I did.
You scooted over somehow and let him in.
I didn't have a choice. He was practically sitting on my lap.
Miss Castillo.
Well, I still scooted over.
Miss Castillo, my dear. You're a 35-year-old woman. You had a choice. As soon as he got to his house and you dropped him off, instead of following him across town to an apartment complex in a dead-end street, you call 911. And you say, this man got into my car, took my car, damaged my car. I want to report the damage to my car. Because according to you, you went into his house, Miss Castillo, to get him to sign a piece of paper. Did he sign it?
No.
So at that point, you should have had some clue that he was not going to take responsibility for what he had done to your car. Is that right?
No.
You thought he was going to take responsibility, and that's why he got into Mike's car and
no,
drove
that's why
away?
I followed him, because I didn't know if he was going to drop him off somewhere and disappear. But when I tried to look for my cell phone, I couldn't find it. It wasn't on in my purse.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, go.
My turn?
That's why I'm looking at you.
Yeah, after we left the first establishment, we went to another bar. We did have about 3 pictures. When we left, she asked me to drive because she had been drinking. I said, no, there's no way I'm going to drive. I have a DUI. I'll pick up another one, and I'm in trouble.
I don't want you to speak.
So I told her no. She asked everybody to drive, actually, but she pestered me about it. I didn't drive. When we went to the gas station, nobody took her car. She came back, put gas. We dropped off my friend. We dropped off another friend, went to our house. She followed me inside, and we were there for about 2 hours. And she didn't ask me
What were you
about...
doing for the 2 hours in your house?
We were playing intimate friendship. And after that...
You're a fast learner.
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is a tape recorder where he leaves me a voice message the day after the incident where he admits he took off in my car without me.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
And later today,
A bad check was written on it, and you knew that it was an account that had no funds in it. That's bank fraud, for which you can go to jail.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Castillo says former lover Manuel Gonzalez drove her car without permission and wrecked it. Manuel claims Rebecca is making up a story.
Keep going.
Then after that, I told her to leave because we had to drop off one of my buddy Mike's girlfriend that had just got there. And I didn't want to see her anymore. And she got upset and was telling me things about me and her. And I told her, I'm not with you. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to have nothing to do with you.
This is after you played intimate friendship?
Yes. Of course. And then after that, she went to her car. We left. About halfway to our destination, we realized she was following us. We turned into the apartments where we were supposed to be. She followed us in, and you have to turn like zigzag. So we parked on the side, and as soon as she came in, I got off the car and told her why she was following me, and I was pretty upset. While she mashes out in reverse, boom, hits a wall, and I ran around the side of the car to the driver's side because I was pissed. I was telling her things, you know, I probably shouldn't have been saying. But then she takes off forward and hits the front side of her car on one of those big poles.
Okay. Now, I see that you have something over there, Miss Castillo. I'd like you to tell me what it is.
This is a tape recorder where he leaves me a voice message the day after the incident where he admits he took off in my car without me.
Oh, I'd like to hear that. That I would like to hear, and I would like you to give it to Officer Burtz because I want to listen to it very carefully. You wouldn't have done that, sir.
No.
Is that right?
No, that's not my voice.
Oh. Let's see.
076. Received June 6th at 7:19 a.m.
Hey, when I left you yesterday, when you left at the night, your car was fine. I don't know what you're tripping on. I didn't do nothing to your car. I didn't hit nothing, and after I took off, I only took off once without you. And when I came back, your car was fine. I didn't hit nothing, so I don't know why you're going to be mad at me. But if you're all right, then late.
Erase.
That is your voice, Mr. Gonzalez?
That is not my voice.
Sure it is.
Does that even admit that I was driving?
Yeah, it said that I only took off in your car once, and I didn't do any damage to your car.
Well, that wasn't me. I haven't driven
I
for
only
a long
took
time.
off. Listen to me. This is what it says.
Okay.
And you know what's logical, Mr. Gonzalez, because you're
What's
a smart young man.
Yes.
If she was going to falsify this and have somebody else pretend that they were you,
yes,
she would have had this person say, listen, I'm sorry I did all the damage to your car. I'll pay you for it.
Yes.
Wouldn't have had them say, listen, I didn't damage your car. I took off with it once and I brought it back. Nothing happened to it. So I don't know what you're complaining about. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. So this is your voice, and you acknowledge that you took off once with her car, but you say, I didn't cause any damage to your car. That I believe. So you see, you shouldn't fib.
Okay.
Because if you fib, then I can doubt everything that you're telling me. Now, Miss Castillo, I don't believe you damaged your car. I think that you were really angry, and I think that if your car got damaged, you did it, or you let him drive your car. Now, if you're going to choose playmates, you got to choose playmates that are somehow equal to you. These young men, on that night in June, were doing nothing more than using you as a chauffeur. I am not comfortable enough with your story to find that Mr. Gonzalez, as outrageous as his behavior might be, and however morally reprehensible his behavior might be, is responsible for the damage to your car, Ms. Castillo. So your complaint is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was probably hating that I didn't want to be with her.
I didn't even want him.
She said it over and over that she wanted to be with me. And
He's not even my type.
Reloading. Serious face on. No peeking!
Flash! Tango down!
Enemy spotted!
Enemy spotted A.
Over there! Last player standing. One less. Spike planted. Make them regret their choice of profession.
No heroics. Follow protocol. Target spotted mid.
Joke's over! You're dead!
Target spotted mid.
Flashbang!
Spike planted. Get out of my way!
Enemy spotted.
Defender spawn.